Welcome to this live edition of the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm David Knight with Leanne McAdoo and Owen Schroyer. And tonight we're going to have our live coverage of the Commander-in-Chief Forum. It's not a debate. They're going to have Hillary and Donald on the same stage, but not at the same time. We've got training wheels for Hillary because she's got the big event where she's going to have to speak live and actually take questions from the press, presumably. Tonight, they're going to be taking a few questions from Matt Lauer and from the audience.
Yes, and hopefully there'll be actual questions and not oranges rolled in her direction with scribbled in Sharpie. I
guess we could play the game. You know, sometimes you do the drinking game when they say a particular word. I guess tonight we can do the game whether she's going to cough or not. You know?
Yes.
The coughing game.
That could be dangerous. She might start coughing and then she might never stop. We could be up here drinking all night.
Yeah.
But I think that that's going to be something a lot of Americans are going to be watching for. Can Hillary Clinton make it through an entire event without having a cough attack that causes her to either pause the event or not answer the question? I think we're all going to be anxiously awaiting. It's going to be a big test for Hillary's health tonight.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And, of course, for the last 2 days, Donald Trump has been talking about this very issue, about national security, about the military, about cybersecurity. And he began yesterday. He was in Virginia Beach and also in North Carolina, places where there are a lot of military personnel, both active and retired in those areas. And then today he was in Philadelphia, I believe, and he gave a very important prepared speech. I want to read to you something that he said in this speech today because I think it exactly nails it. He said, let's look back at the Middle East at the very beginning of 2009 before Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State. Libya was stable. Syria was under control. Egypt was ruled by a secular president who was an ally of the United States. Iraq was experiencing a reduction in violence. The group that would become what we now call ISIS was close to being extinguished. Iran was being choked off by economic sanctions. Fast forward today. What have we gotten from Obama and Clinton? Of course, that's a rhetorical question because we all know what the Middle East has erupted to. But it's interesting to look back at this and think about it, the fact that that was the situation just as recently as 2009. She wants to run on her experience. That is her experience, setting the Middle East on fire, creating radical Islamic extremists everywhere, overthrowing regimes. Why? For the bankers, okay?
Right.
That's what we now know from the emails.
That we are not even allowed to discuss.
Yeah.
And these are talking points that Trump has continued to harp on. I mean, he speaks almost every day talking about the timeline in the Middle East since the start of the Obama administration to today. And as you just laid out, he does it perfectly eloquently. It's easy for even simple-minded people who don't necessarily understand the complex issues in the Middle East to see that our involvement and the current policies of the Clinton and Obama administrations did not help the Middle East.
Right, and they're really going with this tactic that, oh, give Trump the nuclear codes, it's going to be dangerous, he's a loose cannon, when she is the one, along with President Obama, they just couldn't find a country they didn't want to invade and destabilize. And they're still moving toward that, actually provoking World War III with Russia.
Well, that was one of the key takeaways. And of course, that was a headline that Drudge had when he linked to the speech. Diplomacy, not destruction. Mm-hmm. And what we've seen from Hillary Clinton is destruction. We know what that is. We know exactly what she's going to do.
Just
We've
like
seen
she destroyed her with the hammer.
Exactly. But I mean, Julian Assange has pointed out, he said, look, we know exactly what we're going to get from Hillary Clinton. She absolutely hates free speech. She's owned by the bankers warmonger, okay? Mm-hmm. She's going to push for all this stuff without any reserve. We don't know exactly what we're going to get from Donald Trump. So when we look at him talking about peace through strength, we say, all right, that'd be a good thing, but, you know, how has that worked out in the past with the military-industrial complex? Yet realize that people who are key neocons in both parties, people like just recently, Paul Wolfowitz, came out adamantly opposing Donald Trump, supporting Hillary Clinton, and of course, he's been a long-time Republican, architect of the Iraq War, so forth. As Trump has said in the past, thank you for coming out and taking the mask off, okay? You've exposed yourself as to who you are, and I think it also defines who Donald Trump is. Right. We have people like Jesse Ventura who, when he talked to Alex Jones, he was saying, I can't support Trump. He's running as a Republican. He took over the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. The Libertarian Party has been taken over by the neocons, by the globalists, by the multinational globalists, with these people, with Weld and with Gary Johnson. So the interesting thing, I think, is that you've got an independent and outsider who has taken over the Republican Party. And a lot of people, even within the Libertarian Party, have said that might be a good strategy for us to take over the Republican Party. They've got ballot access and so many other things. He was successful in doing that.
Right.
But we've got to get over these labels, and we've got to look at this. We understand, based on who his enemies are, based on things that he's talked about for decades, exactly where he stands.
Right, and he has talked about this for decades. There are many videos out there of him coming out and saying, you know, we need to bring this money, get out of these wars, help our inner cities, help the students here, you know, like he just mentioned, let our kids be dreamers too in this country.
Yeah.
He's been saying this stuff for decades. And, you know, yeah, we might not see how the opportunity, he hasn't been a politician, but I think that he's definitely been in the political eye and speaking out against this stuff in a very eloquent way.
Well, and you talk about Jesse Ventura, and I think it's not just Jesse Ventura. There's a sect of people that just don't want to vote Republican for whatever reason. You know, Republicans' history that they don't know, whatever. They just can't vote Republican. It's the party of the rich white male, whatever it is. They just won't vote Republican.
Get over the label.
But
Right.
and to me, Donald Trump has transcended the two-party system. Donald Trump has transcended the Republican Party. If it wasn't for Donald Trump, to me, the political party of the Republicans would have committed suicide.
Right.
They would have already committed Republican suicide by now if it wasn't for
they've
Donald
been
Trump.
happily handing it over to the Democrats. I mean, even just with this, even though they controlled both the House and the Senate, they still allowed the Democratic Party going out to decide how they were going to, the federal spending that was going to take place for the next 2 years forward.
Exactly. That's why I would say, Owen, they did commit suicide. Okay,
Yeah.
They committed suicide by becoming clones of each other. And, you know, that's essentially what they become. It is the single party. The Libertarian Party used to always say, we have one single party. We have now seen that, okay? Right. And basically what the current candidates of the Libertarian Party are doing are essentially echoing what that single party has done. They represent that more than anybody. They're just saying, hey, look, I'm a less crooked version of Hillary Clinton. Well, that's to be determined.
Well, and if you look outside of the left-right paradigm, you're seeing the policies of Clinton and even Johnson. It was well documented by Paul Joseph Watson. These are totalitarian policies. It's not Republican or Democrat. It's totalitarian policies. And Donald Trump is against that. And if you want to say, okay, I can't support the Republicans, then I say, look at the backlash that Donald Trump has gotten from the GOP. Look at the backlash and all the things that Donald Trump, the obstacles the Republicans put in front of Donald Trump just to get to this point, and he beat every single one of them.
Right.
And so the Republican Party, maybe they tried to commit political suicide, maybe they didn't, maybe they would have been dead if it wasn't for Trump. They need to embrace Donald Trump, but they're still not doing it. And that's what shows to me that Donald Trump is bipartisan and he has transcended the Republican Party.
And you have these people on such a high horse. They're so lofty with their hashtag Never Trump, just more proof that it's all the same, you know, the same group. They're willing to put in Hillary Clinton rather than just Never Trump.
Hey guys, Clinton just went live on stage. It looks like she's gone a minute.
First. She won the coin toss.
So she looks like she's taken
she hasn't started coughing yet.
She's taken her meds. Her eyes are wide.
Does she have her juicy
Very alert.
giblets in her throat like she did at the last rally?
Yeah, let's listen to what she's having to say here.
Evidence my system was hacked.
Let us bring in Hallie Jackson of
Her
NBC
system
News
was
has
hacked.
been covering
You know,
this
that's one of the
No
things that
evidence,
Donald Trump. Yeah.
Her system was hacked, but I thought it was totally secure.
There's no evidence her system was hacked, even though we hacked the system. I mean, what is this?
Switched over to the Navy before he retired, where he flew P-3 Orions in Desert Storm and in Desert Shield. He's a Republican, and he has this question for you, Secretary Clinton.
Republican.
Thank you.
Secretary Clinton, thank you very much for coming tonight. As a naval flight officer, I held a top secret sensitive compartmentalized information clearance, and that provided me access to materials and information highly sensitive to our warfighting capabilities. Had I communicated this information not following prescribed protocols, I would have been prosecuted and imprisoned.
That's right.
Secretary
You didn't even know what the C stood
such as
for.
myself, who were and are entrusted with America's most sensitive information, to have any confidence in your leadership as president when you clearly corrupted our national security.
Clearly.
Wow.
Well, I
Yes.
appreciate
Good.
I'm
your
shocked they let him
concern
ask
and
that.
also your
Thank you for
experience.
asking me that.
Yeah.
Let me try to make the distinctions that I
It
think
looks like it's been a
are
rough night
important
for her so
I
far.
had a
me to
concussion,
answer
but
your
I'm
question.
totally fine.
First, as I said to Matt, you know and I know, classified material is designated. It is marked. There is a header so that
Yeah, evidently she
okay.
doesn't know that
Yeah,
because she said that she didn't know what the C stood for.
It was designated, it was marked, and when it did have that header on it, she instructed her aides to just go ahead and remove it so he could easily fax it to her.
You know, she should have just cited her brain damage and said that she couldn't see. First she cited it and said she didn't remember.
She could not recall.
Now she needs to say, well, I had head trauma. I was blinded when I couldn't see it.
There were no headers. There was
That's
no...
everybody else's
That's a
fault.
lie.
Down.
That's
She's
a
doubling
lie.
down the lie.
Everybody else's fault.
There's a lie.
It wasn't marked. There were no headers. I'm pretty sure FBI Director James Comey was asking her about the markings on the documents that she said she did not recall getting that training that explained to her what the C meant. So it was
She
marked.
needs to coordinate better with the guy they put in there to cover for her, you know, James Comey. He came out today and he said, you know, I'm taking a lot of flack because he is a hack, you know, but he's taking a lot of flack for being Hillary's hack and for putting this stuff out on the Labor Day weekend, you know, because he did the deposition on the 4th of July weekend. He's doing this every one of these. He says there's more documents that are coming. What is the next holiday between now and the election? Is it going to be on Halloween night? You know,
We got football. Football's about to start, so they'll release the next documents. You know, for the next big football game is probably when the next thing is coming out. But it's amazing. She just lied to the American public. Let's see, we've been on air about 10 minutes for this presidential forum, and Hillary Clinton can't even go 10 minutes without a lie. But you know what? She's been
Her mouth was moving.
She's been weaving all of these lies and intersecting this web of lies that Hillary Clinton has built. I mean, of course she can't keep track of all the lies. This web is so thick. She's been building it for decades.
You know, what just came out over this weekend was part of the transcript. She told the FBI, she said, I didn't know what the C meant on confidential.
Right.
Okay. I never took the classes that I can remember, even though she signed the paperwork with all this stuff. And of course, the FBI director, who is somebody who has a history of covering for the Clintons, this guy, you may not realize the pedigree of James Comey. This guy, of course, is a lawyer. The law firm that he worked with for the longest time was Hogan and Hartson. He was a partner at this law firm, along with a couple other people you might recognize, Cheryl Mills, okay, and Loretta Lynch. All three of them worked at this law firm. What did they do? They did the Clintons' taxes, among other things, okay? And in 2004, he was Deputy Attorney General. He limited the investigation for Sandy Berger when Sandy Berger went in and stole classified documents out of the National Archives and destroyed them in order to cover up for the Clintons. What he did physically was what Hillary Clinton has done, in many cases physically with the hammer now. So this is the history of this guy. And one more thing. He was on the board of HSBC. Of course, we all know who HSBC is. The people who have been found guilty multiple times of massive money laundering for drug cartels, for terrorists. They even had their own cash laundering window for the Sinaloa cartel. Remember El Chapo, you know, this guy? The HSBC was doing this for them. And, of course, they got a get-out-of-jail-free card. They were too big to jail. And, of course, the person who brokered that was Loretta Lynch, okay, along with the former Attorney General that she replaced. So this is a corporation that has a long history of money laundering. And even just recently, July 20th, Mark Johnson, global head of foreign exchange cash trading at HSBC, was found guilty of conspiring to commit wire fraud. And what he should have done, instead of doing that, he should have just put it on a plane and flown it around like the Clintons did.
Or, yeah, just, you know, laundered it through the Clinton campaign. That's always nice, too.
But that's how they get off.
And I want to point this out because we're sitting here, we're talking over Hillary Clinton, and I've actually done this experiment myself. If you just watch Hillary Clinton, okay, without the audio, if you just watch her, you can just tell she's
not,
domineering.
Well, first of all, she's not blinking, so
she's like a robot.
signs. Look at her eyes. She's not blinking.
She's domineering.
She just
she's
said
clearly fake.
Donald Trump told Howard Stern that he supported going to war in Iraq. So therefore, he supported. No, you voted for it. You were there. I mean, you were the one that was talking to the Obama administration about pulling the troops out of Iraq. Like, you need to own up, take responsibility for your role in it.
But isn't that perfect how she tries to use that as a point against Trump when she was one of the main factors?
He went on Howard Stern.
And she goes, oh yeah, she and Donald Trump, he's the live TV, he's the comedy nighttime TV show. When Obama goes on the TV show, she went on the morning show or whatever. She goes on all these shows too. It's such, they'll take any spin to go against Trump. It's like Larry Nichols says, anything they are, then they accuse Trump of being that.
So here we're talking about Iraq and Libya. I like that she's getting some real questions.
It's shocking to me.
This is awesome.
I can't even believe she's been standing for like 5 minutes now.
She's been in politics for 30-something years, and she hasn't done one thing for veterans in her entire life.
And then the mainstream news, Joe, will say that Trump is not popular among the military. Can you believe that?
The first guy that came up on stage actually asked a question. He goes, hey, I was in the military. I had a classification. If I would have done the exact same thing as you, I would be in jail. And Hillary came back and told Matt Lauer, looked him right in the eyes, and said, she never sent or received emails with classified headers on them.
I can't believe she's still telling that lie.
No, she still said it again. That's how she opened up the conversation.
She began lying immediately.
And we know that she knows what the C means. I've been through that. I had a secret clearance. And even if it didn't have that on it, you understand as the Secretary of State at your position that you know that the materials, the information that you're handling, especially when she was talking about how she was handling it over in Pakistan and other countries, that's sensitive material. You're not going over there talking about teddy bears and candy and Coca-Colas. You're talking about national security issues in front of other people that potentially don't like us whatsoever and that are mad about many things. And you're passing these emails along. You're passing this information on unsecured servers. You have these unsecured servers brought up at your home, and you're passing things along with the C on it in quotations, and you don't know what that means. That's a bold-faced lie. And she sat there and she looked at that guy and goes, well, I respect your service and all, but I didn't do anything wrong. Get the hell out of here.
She has contradicted what the FBI director said. And, of course, they brought him on with the House committee, and they said, clarify this for us. Now, you know, she said that she didn't say. He said, yeah, sent and received, just as he had said in his initial release. And yet she is still holding to that lie. It is absolutely amazing. Everybody that I've talked to in the military, that's been in the military, anything, they all say exactly what that guy who asked her that question said. I would go to jail essentially for the rest of my life if I had done
anyone else would have definitely been looking at some serious prison time. And look, she destroyed those emails after she was subpoenaed.
Yes.
This was after the subpoena.
We now
remember
know that.
there was two different committees. There was two different committees. There was the House Oversight Committee and there was the Benghazi Committee. Both of them said that they wanted access to her private servers. They told her, hand them over and do not destroy them in the process. And what did she do? She ordered those hard drives to be scrubbed. And she even got a software program called BleachBit, which is designed to prevent recovery of evidence. And then, as we all know, she even went as far as smashing the Blackberries with a hammer.
Well, she said on the airplane right before or right after she hawked up those little alien babies that she didn't know what BleachBit was. She had no clue what it was. And it's out there. And we have Julian Assange. She's about to do another dump. We have the FBI that's doing another probe. They're going to release more emails. This woman sits here and gets paid to lie. And how does she keep a straight face? I have no idea. But that coughing fit comes from her body's natural reaction of lying so much. Her body is dying inside from the pure evil, the BS that she spews out all the time. As a veteran, I find her offensive as hell. She is the worst human being. She's the worst for America. She doesn't deserve to hold the highest office in America. She doesn't deserve to stand on the same stage as Trump, much less all those veterans, and sit there and lie in front of them to their face.
Yeah, don't lie to us all. Let me tell you what Donald Trump said today in this speech he gave in Philadelphia. He said, Hillary Clinton has taught us all how vulnerable we are to cyber hacking. And, of course, that was her excuse. I was hacked. Somebody hacked in this. Of course they did. You didn't have any security. You put it on a private server. That's why they tell you can't do that. And that's the amazing thing. What is her excuse? Her excuse is that she's an idiot, that she's totally incompetent. I mean, that's the only excuse that she could offer for any of this. And, of course, I agree with both of those, but she's also a lying criminal as well.
And I don't want to let the FBI off the hook here at all, because someone has prevented the FBI from prosecuting her, and that could only come from the top. That has to either come from the White House, either that or FBI Director James Comey is afraid that he'll be added to the Clinton body count. You know,
well, like I said earlier, Darren, he's got a long pedigree of covering up for the Clintons. He's been covering up. He let Sandy Berger go. He's been part of HSBC. He's been part of that cabal. He's even part of the law firm that did her tax returns.
Well, that's how he got to be director.
Yeah, as they pointed out on CNN.
Matt Lauer was a part of the Clinton Global Initiative. We have Jed Johnson of the DHS who wants to take over the voting. This is blatant. This is out here. This should piss off every single person. They're doing everything they can to steal this from Donald Trump. They're sick and tired. They're sitting here lying. They're blatantly come out with it. We have proof day in and day out of how corrupt she is. And yet some people are so stupid, they will sit there and just ignore it.
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is, Joe. They are so confident in their lies. They are so confident in their brainwashing that Hillary Clinton can get on stage and immediately start lying in this presidential forum.
It's like you tell a lie so much you begin to believe it, and then it becomes truth. And that's like that's the way that Hillary's ran her entire life. That's the way she's done everything her entire life. That she comes up with these lies, she fabricates these truths, and then she believes them, and they're set in stone. And then she uses them as talking points throughout her entire career. 35 years she's been doing this, and the lies continue. They get worse and worse, and that's why she's able to keep such a straight face.
And she's backed up by the media.
Yes.
It's disgusting.
Backed up by the
I don't get it, man. I don't get how people right there, those veterans right now should be booing her. They should be looking at her right now and be like, just boo. Come on, scream for some real answers. Let's get something.
Well, you know, Darren, you talked about how this has to come from the top. There's a lot of people that are angry about this. And the CNN story today, they point out that Comey says that he's been going from place to place. Former agents were sharply critical of the FBI's handling of the Clinton probe, particularly the decision not to recommend charges. He's been taking visits, going from one field office to the other, because I think they're hopping mad. We can see this corruption. And I was absolutely amazed. Again, this type of in-your-face criminality that we just saw from Hillary Clinton as she began this thing, lying to everybody after everything that's come out, still saying that there was nothing on these emails. They were not sent or received as classified. And I remember watching this press conference that Comey had, and he starts outlining all the felonies she's created. And I was amazed. I looked at my wife. I said, they're going to go after her. But then
she's guilty, but we're not going to prosecute.
She committed all these felonies. He lays out all the felonies she committed and then said, we're not going to prosecute.
Well, here's another thing.
He's a criminal himself.
Here's another thing, David. It is a policy of the DOJ to record every interview, right?
Yeah.
In fact, they made recordings of every single person, that every one of the witnesses that were interrogated, except for Crooked Hillary. So this is a high-profile case. And in the digital age of 2015, 2016, they decided for whatever reason to record everybody but Hillary Clinton. Something's not right.
Hillary said it's time to begin a new phase and intensify and broaden our effects to smash the would-be caliphate and deny ISIS control of territories in Iraq and Syria. So she's calling it a would-be caliphate, much like Obama said that they were the JV team. So she doesn't even really look at ISIS as a legitimate threat, just like Barack Obama did, which is why they're out of control, which is why we would have bombed ISIS at the beginning. They wouldn't be here. And then she talked about how Trump said he wanted to send ground troops and American troops. Well, that is off the table as far as I'm concerned. Yes, she doesn't want to send ground troops. You want to know why? Because they're actually going to kill the bad guys. When you put in operators out there in Iraq and Syria, they're going to take out ISIS. And she wants to use more more air raids, things like that, which we've seen before, don't even hit high-value targets via these Obama drones. Instead, they kill innocent civilians, which sparks more hatred for America, which breeds new terrorism and creates more of a vacuum in that area.
Well, that's what they want. They want a proxy war to take out Bashar al-Assad, just like they took out Gaddafi in Libya. So this is our Frankenstein.
Hillary Clinton is not for America.
Well, now she's talking about, number one priority is defeating ISIS. And, of
she
course,
said we're
Donald
not
Trump
putting ground troops in.
Called her the founder of ISIS. A lot of her emails showing that she knew the weapons were getting into the hands of the Al-Qaeda, who later defected, became ISIS. So she's basically creating the problem there, destabilizing the Middle East. She's really good at destabilizing countries. And then now she's going to go in and fix it.
She might be the best, actually. Is there anyone better at destabilizing countries than Hillary? Can she take the crown on that?
I think she'd like to try.
We came, we saw, he died.
He died. I'm a tough guy in Libya. I destroyed Libya, but I should be president.
This is the thing, though. The problem with ISIS continues to grow. Why? Because we have these young people growing up in these Islamic countries who are pissed off. Why? Because a drone strike hit their family 9 times out of 10.
Right.
A drone strike that didn't even hit a high-value target, and they're pissed off. Hillary is going to be another continuation of what Obama's done, his failed attempt at trying to take out ISIS, which all he does is empower them. They're telling these Air Force pilots to drop ammunitions off to rebel forces. They're going to take out ISIS, which in fact it doesn't. It lands in the hands of ISIS, and they have crates and crates of ammunition. We've given them all these vehicles. They're taking all this stuff. It's ridiculous.
What's the likelihood that it lands in their, it gets in their hands on accident, though?
Yeah, I mean,
well, right now they're asking Hillary Clinton if the reality for us here living in the U.S. is that we just need to get used to the fact that we're going to have terrorist attacks here.
Yeah, let's listen to her answer.
To, promise something that I think most thinking Americans know is going to be a huge challenge, and here's why. We've got to have an intelligence surge, and we've got to get a lot more cooperation out of Europe, out of the Middle East. We have to do a better job of not only collecting and analyzing the intelligence we do have, but distributing it.
Based off of what Edward Snowden revealed, I think we have a pretty good intelligence gathering group going on right now.
We had an intelligence surge when she put all that intelligence on her unsecured server. There was an intelligence surge out of this country.
Which, by the way, she liked to say that she didn't know. She was talking about drone strikes, where they're going to be, who they're going to be against, when. She didn't just automatically assume that that was classified information. This was the Secretary of State, and now she wants to be the president. She doesn't think something as sensitive as a drone strike is classified. She's totally unqualified.
Well, she says we need to combat ISIS online. Are you kidding me? Conservatives
they
get kicked off Twitter all the time.
Now,
Meanwhile, there's actual ISIS accounts right now putting up propaganda videos, showing people getting shot in the head, showing people getting beheaded, showing gays getting thrown off bridges. But why aren't we defeating that? Why aren't we taking those accounts down?
Oh,
it's
now she's talking about terrorists being able to buy guns.
And we're going to be censored on YouTube if we show footage that might be, come on.
You're going to lose your internet freedoms, and you're going to lose your
gun rights. That's what she's talking
so she
about
can
now.
fight ISIS. That's going to be the way she's going to fight ISIS, is to take those freedoms away from you, Joe. That's the way it's going to be done.
As if they're not just going to be using their buddies down there in Mexico, these cartels who've already said that they've been working with these jihadist groups who are going to help them funnel in the weapons illegally once they take Mr. and Mrs.
Oh, here he goes. Went after a Gold Star family. He went after somebody she had on the stage who promotes Sharia law, which is the antithesis of what a soldier is fighting for if he's fighting for the Constitution.
Man, there was a soldier who was going to get up there, and since he came out on CNN, I guess it's not going to happen. They're not going to pick him. But there was a soldier who was going to get up if he was asked to ask Hillary a question and challenge her to the 22 push-up challenge, basically to raise awareness for the veterans that commit suicide.
She couldn't do half a push-up.
I know, but could you imagine if that guy would have got airtime, if he wouldn't have went to CNN, if he wouldn't have made that public? He could have been picked, could have challenged her, and let's see how healthy Hillary really is.
Hey, now, come on. I'm feeling you guys are being able-bodied discriminated.
I'm surprised she didn't try to open up that can of pickles with a grenade on top of the thing.
Honestly,
see it opened.
Just, I guess Hillary. I don't know. Is Hillary done for the night? Is she going to come back out?
She's done for the night.
She's done for the night.
She's done.
I think that's it. And I can tell you already that the TV,
how impressive!
Pundits, man.
She got like 5 questions.
What an embarrassment.
That was the training wheels, okay? But listen, you're talking about opening up the can of pickles. Let's talk about the can of worms that she opened up at the State Department. And this is the way Donald Trump characterized it earlier today. He said, unlike my opponent, my foreign policy will be to emphasize diplomacy, not destruction. Hillary Clinton's legacy in Iraq, Libya, and Syria has produced only turmoil and suffering. Her destructive policies have displaced millions of people. Then she invites the refugees into the West with no plan to screen them. Including veteran health care costs, the price of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan could total $6 trillion. That's with a T. And he said, yet after all this money spent, after all these lives lost, her policies as Secretary of State have left the Middle East in more disarray than ever before. That was a great speech that he gave. He nailed it. He summed it up right there. That is the policy of Clinton and Obama. She will continue that policy. She thinks it's a good policy. She thinks she did a great job. That's what she's telling you right now. She did a great job in the Middle East, setting it on fire, creating ISIS, creating unrest everywhere she went.
And she's talking to Matt Lauer.
Solution.
Problem, reaction, solution. Just what Owen said, and they want to destabilize the region so the United States can march in there and establish order.
You need to bring up that before and after picture of Libya before Hillary Clinton.
You can do the same with Iraq, too.
Let's go to Margaret.
Guys, but she said she wants to defeat ISIS, but at the same time, the State Department was training ISIS leaders in 2014. Answer that. She said she wanted to be judged on a record. Oh, lady, we're on that one.
Yeah. Well, she also said that she did not want to use force except as a last resort. But we now know from the emails that have come out precisely why they went into Libya, how they were selling it. And this is back in January that we got the emails going back to 2011 where they were strategizing about how they could get the French on board. And they said, you know, we've got this plan to replace the French franc and other Western currencies with a gold-backed Libyan dinar. Okay, and they said we can get the French in on this if we appeal to them on the desire to gain a greater share of Libyan oil production, to increase French influence in North Africa, to improve their internal political situation in France, and so on and so forth. It's about the money. It's about the bankers. I mean, nothing has changed. 100 years ago, we had Smedley Buckler telling us about intervention. He said, hey, I went all over the world. I fought all these wars. I did it for the fruit company. I helped Mexico make safe for the American oil interests in 1914, so forth. He said, I helped the bankers in Cuba and Haiti. I raped half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. Nicaragua for the international banking house of Brown Brothers Harriman. You know, that's the Bush brothers who later gave money to finance Hitler. All of that. Nothing changes. They started this Libyan war for the bankers, okay? And
not only that, David, but we had to make sure Gaddafi was trading on the gold standard. We just couldn't have that. You know, our petrodollars, we've got to make sure that those are secure.
Absolutely.
And Hillary taking him out. Hey, look, she just did what she had to do in the name of American interest. I was getting so sick listening to her tonight. It was just unbelievable. She said that she thinks the commander-in-chief should protect and defend the U.S. Lady, tell me, at what point in your career have you actually done that?
Yeah, she's helping to topple the U.S. and enrich her own pockets.
She thinks that the commander-in-chief needs to be quiet. You know, you shouldn't talk about the Federal Reserve or the bankers when you're running for president or when you are president, she said. We're going to talk about that later tonight. Let's go to the first response from Donald Trump. He's now at the podium.
I've dealt with foreign countries. I've done very well, as an example, tremendously well dealing with China and dealing with so many of the countries that are just ripping this country. They are just taking advantage of us.
By the way, guys,
like
Matt Lauer right out of the gate told Donald Trump to keep your attacks to a minimum.
Yeah, let's not be too rough. Yeah. She's an easy target.
That's the first thing you told him. Please keep your attacks.
Wait, was that
unbelievable?
Was that Donald or was that Matt?
What,
Matt
saying
Lauer
keep your
said
attacks
that.
You told that to Donald Trump.
It was Matt that said that?
Go easy on her. She's sick, okay?
That's how he started the conversation. Just now, what's his ties with the
I happened to hear Hillary Clinton say that I was not against the war in Iraq. I was totally against the war in Iraq. You can look at Esquire magazine from '04. You can look at before that. And I was against the war in Iraq because I said it's going to totally destabilize the Middle East, which it has. It has absolutely been a disastrous war. And by the way, perhaps almost as bad was the way Barack Obama got out. That was a disaster.
People talk about you and Commander-in-Chief.
And that point transcends the left-right paradigm. That message right there reaches out to a lot of former Democrats or still claiming they're Democrats. That message right there.
Commander-in-Chief, you said something recently that I found interesting. You admitted that sometimes in the heat of a debate or when you're talking about a lot of issues, you say things that you later regret. So can we afford that with a commander-in-chief, to have a commander-in-chief who says things that he later regrets?
Well, when you say regret, yeah, sure, I regret. But in the meantime, I beat 16 people.
Now, we all knew that Matt Lauer was going to...
He really regrets that.
Yeah. So regretful that he didn't play by the establishment's rules.
That I had to go through, and that was a lot of people.
But when you say
that was a record, Matt, that was a record.
We brought all this heavy-duty military equipment into Iraq. Then Obama pulled us out, and we left it all there. Then ISIS came in. We watched them come in. We watched them convoy in and take all of that high-grade weaponry that we had. The tanks,
surface-to-air missiles,
artillery pieces, which I highly doubt they even know how to use, especially an M777 Alpha 2 howitzer or anything like that, complex. But these guys came in, they had free reign. It was almost like watching the movie War Dogs. You know, after the Soviet war, they left all this stuff here, all these stockpiles of AK-47s, and ISIS was just able to come in, sweep it all up, take it, and use it, and now they're just destroying lives all around the Middle East. It's completely and totally out of control. Well, we could have bombed the hell out of them in the beginning. We wouldn't even have this problem right now.
Well, I think it was a 10-year-old that came out and said that he'd rather have a president that says mean things than get beheaded by jihadists here in our country. And now, of course, Matt Lauer is really going after him, saying, hey, you know, just the way you treated all of your opponents there, can we really handle that if you're going to go and destabilize the regions? Can we trust you? And that as he's just there talking to Hillary Clinton, who actually literally destabilized the regions and is going for destruction, not diplomacy.
Yeah. And he continued to hammer Donald Trump on if he's mean or not. Look, why don't you talk to the former Secret Service agents, or maybe current Secret Service agents that they were talking to? Matt, ask them about how mean Hillary Clinton is. This is just beyond.
Yeah,
ask Bill Clinton's victims.
Ask Gaddafi about the regret.
How mean Hillary is.
What is there? Yesterday came out 88 former high-level military people have come out and endorsed Trump now. More people in the military support Trump.
Vast majority.
Right.
I support Trump. Everybody I've talked to, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, who is in the military, support Trump. For a few, like a small amount that I found out that liked Bernie Sanders, but now are going to go for Trump. I mean, you can't have a commander-in-chief who is not going to be held to the same standards that you, a soldier with a classified, like secret, top secret, other than, whatever. If you're not going to be held to the same standard, then why in the hell should I be? And I guarantee you, if I was a soldier and I walked in and I sent emails in an unsecured server or whatever like that, an email, I would be thrown in jail. And I guarantee you, the more heat's going to come out on Hillary Clinton, and she's going to have a fall guy, someone who's going to take the blunt and blame it on that person. They're going to get set up in some nice, fancy resort that's somewhat of a prison, and that guy will end up dead.
We got a question coming up. Let's hear what these people ask.
Him to write a book.
Yes.
He's a Democrat, and he has this question for you, Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump, over the past 15 years, a lot of U.S. troops have bled and died, securing towns and provinces from Iraq to Afghanistan, only to have insurgent groups like ISIS spring back the moment we leave. Now, you've claimed to have a secret plan to defeat ISIS, but you're hardly the first politician to promise a quick victory and a speedy homecoming. So, assuming we do defeat ISIS, what next? What is your plan for the region to ensure that a group like them doesn't just come back?
Joe, I mean, part of the problem that we've had is we go in, we defeat somebody, and then we don't know what we're doing after that. I mean, we lose it. Like, as an example, you look at Iraq, what happened, how badly that was handled. And then when President Obama took over, likewise, it was a disaster. It was actually somewhat stable. I don't think could ever be very stable.
I would say don't hand them weapons once you leave and drop weapons to the enemy.
Destabilize and then leave weapons.
Yeah, Libya was very stable. Libya was on its way to they were going to stabilize all of Africa, but it wasn't in the interest of the bankers to have that happen, and it's not in the interest of the bankers to let Syria be stable.
And that's what it all comes down to, David.
And when they set them up to so-called bring democracy to these nations, let them truly have their democracy, and if you don't like who they vote in, I mean, that's not your business anymore. You set it up to where if they want to continue living the way that they live, I mean, leave these countries alone. But that's the thing, is they want the resources, they want the gold, and they say it's for U.S. interests, but I'm not seeing any of that.
Well, and you talk about the banks. What did Libya and Iraq have in common? No central bank. What do they have now? Central bank. What does Syria not have? Central bank. What are they going to have if they get the Assad regime to fall, like Hillary Clinton would like? A central bank.
And another strategic placemat on the grand chessboard.
Yeah, just another domino to fall in the grand chess scheme. Absolutely. Yep. Well, but that's why they can't have Trump, because Trump is going to annihilate their entire plan if he gets in.
It's all about destroying a nation so that you can rebuild it for the bankers, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what we've seen going throughout the Middle East. That's been the policy of the Bushes and the Clintons and the Obamas, and that's what he pointed out in his speech. They go in and they destroy this country, and they don't have anything to replace it with. And that's really the reality of this, that the Democrat guy who asked him a question doesn't understand. Let's go back to the broadcast.
Yeah, Matt Lauer's hitting them hard.
What's your plan? What's your plan?
You actually told us a little bit about your plan in your speech. You said this, quote, "We're going to convene my top generals, and they will have 30 days to submit a plan for soundly and quickly defeating ISIS."
Oh, I thought you didn't have a plan.
So is the plan you've been hiding this whole time
to allow people that actually
no.
Is the hidden
he's
plan
not a
actually
military
not
commander,
hidden?
and he is not a politician. And frankly, I don't mind if he's going to seek the guidance of top generals to actually. I just.
He
don't
also
understand.
says in that very line, it says any nation who shares in this goal will be our friends in this mission. That was said September 6, 2016,
including Russia,
and he repeated
in Greenville,
it again.
North Carolina.
And what they did earlier in the broadcast, they criticized him for saying that he doesn't trust military people, that he knows better than that sort of thing. Now they're coming back and saying, well, you said that you're going to talk to military commanders, then you don't have a plan. In other words, he can't, well, no matter what he says, if he
Right.
says, I've got the plan, I don't need to talk to military advisors, or if he says, then he's bad. If he says, I got to talk to military advisors, then you don't have a plan.
Right. And then he also, Matt Lauer, just the way he sort of ended his statement. So then Matt's like, oh, so you're saying you don't trust the military leaders? And he's like, no, I trust them implicitly. I don't trust Hillary Clinton and President. I mean, we knew this was going to be framed as a total Clinton Foundation
This is
stooge.
an ambush journalism.
Just last month on August 15th, Trump said, my administration will aggressively pursue joint and coalition military operations to crush and destroy ISIS, international cooperation to cut off their funding, expanded intelligence sharing, and cyber warfare to disrupt and disable the propaganda and their recruiting.
Well, and what did former Brigadier General Remo Butler say? He said, you know, I kind of like Trump. I knew I didn't like Hillary. I was kind of on the fence about Trump. And then he saw what Trump was doing with the military leaders. He saw the endorsement coming for the military leaders, and he saw that Trump wanted to work with them. And he said, you know what? I trust these people that Donald Trump is going to be working with. Therefore, I can now throw my full endorsement behind Donald Trump because I know he's bringing in the right elements in order to get things done.
Well, Donald Trump said on March 10th, I would listen to the generals, but I'm hearing numbers of 20,000 to 30,000. We have to knock them out fast. And he said that that's a number that I keep hearing and would be needed. And I would listen to these generals and do exactly what I believe they think is the right thing to do. And this was back on March 10th.
Let's go back and see. He just tried to get Trump to talk about the military briefings. This is a rope-a-dope. Let's hear what he has to say, though.
Barack Obama did not follow what our experts, and our truly, when they call it intelligence, it's there for a reason, what our experts said to do. And I was very, very surprised in almost every instance. And I could tell, I have pretty good with the body language, I could tell they were not happy.
So far, we've had
Our
one
leaders
question
did not
from someone in the
follow
military for
what they
Trump.
were
Matt
recommending.
Lauer is just really going after
I'm
him.
with former Army Captain
I like what he said about body language, too. I kind of relate to that. I can, you know, body language can tell a lot about a person. That's why I don't trust Hillary.
She's a Democrat, and she has this question for you, Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
Hi, thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you believe that an undocumented person who wants to serve in the U.S. Armed Forces deserves to stay in this country legally?
I think that when you serve in the armed forces, that's a very special
You're not undocumented if you're in the armed forces. They know who you are, okay?
Yes, you've gone through everything. You've gotten the exact same shots that I went through. You did the same fingerprints. You went through the same BS that you have to go through. Mile-long days of paperwork, months of training.
Joe, did you ever, like, you know, line up for the morning roll call or something, and it's like, wait a minute, who's this guy over here on the right? Where did he come in? How did he get in here? He's undocumented. What's the deal?
I had numerous friends from Mexico who came to America because they believed in what America was. They believed in America so much they knew that Mexico was not great. And they wanted to come here because they saw how awesome America was and the fact that they had freedoms that they could fight for. And they were willing to fight and die to have the chance to become an American citizen.
And
yes,
they followed the rules. They followed the rules.
Exactly.
It's like, here's a path to becoming an American citizen. Hey. You do this, this, and this. You fight for the country. We give you citizenship. They weren't undocumented. They weren't unvetted. They knew who these people were. And that's what she's coming at. What about an undocumented immigrant who happens to be in the military? Was she ever in the military? She was supposed to be a captain? Give me a break. What a bunch of nonsense.
That's a setup question.
Yeah, let's hear this.
I think I would have a very good relationship with many foreign leaders. I think it's very sad when you look at Barack Obama, as an example, lands Air Force One in China, and they don't want to put out stairs to get off the plane.
Right.
And he has to use the stairs that mechanics use to get up and down to fix the plane. They wouldn't give him stairs. I think it's very sad when he lands in Saudi Arabia and he lands in Cuba, and there aren't high officials to even greet him. This is the first time in the history, the storied history of Air Force One. I think I would have a very, very good relationship.
That shows the lackadaisical nature of Obama, where these other world leaders know he'd rather be out playing golf. Why should I show up to the tarmac? Why should I show up to Obama? He doesn't care. He just got off the golf course. Why should I care?
He began his presidency with an apology tour, kowtowing to Saudi princes. That's the president's. That's the vibe that he sent off to people. Do not respect me. Do not. You have nothing to fear from me. I don't know why I'm here. I don't like this.
Well,
I got a tea time. I got a tea time here. Let's get things going.
It set up the whole state of the country at present, where everyone hates themselves and America sucks, and you know we went out and destroyed everything, and it started this whole victimization He was kind of the president that rolled it in.
With Russia.
The apology
His view of America is that America is bad. That's why he started with an apology tour.
And
We
a
are evil, and I'm sorry, you know, I'm here, but, you know, I don't really like these people that I'm... Let's go back to Trump.
Getting an AR president is not doing so well. And when referring to a comment that Putin made about you, I think he called you a brilliant leader, you said it's always a great honor to be so nicely complimented by a man so highly respected within his country and beyond.
Well, he does have an 82% approval rating, according to the different pollsters, who, by the way, some of them are based right here. Look.
He's also a guy who annexed Crimea, invaded Ukraine, supports Assad in Syria, supports Iran, is trying to undermine our influence in key regions of the world, and according to our intelligence community, probably is the main suspect for the hacking of the DNC computers.
Well, nobody knows that for a fact, but do you want me to start naming some of the things that President Obama does?
But do you want to be complimented by that former KGB officer?
Well, I think when he calls me brilliant, I'll take the compliment, okay? The fact is, look, it's not going to get him anywhere. I'm a negotiator. We're going to take back our country. You look at what's happening to our country. You look at the depleted military. You look at the fact that we've lost our jobs. We're losing our jobs like we're a bunch of babies. We're going to take back our country, man. The fact that he calls me brilliant or whatever he calls me is going to have zero impact.
But the fact that you say you can get along with him,
I think I'll be able to get along with him.
Do you think the day that you become president
So they'll demonize him if he can't get along with the president, but if he can, they'll demonize that too.
It's possible. I don't know, Matt. It's possible, and it's not going to have any impact. If he says great things about me, I'm going to say great things about him. I've already said he is really very much of a leader. I mean, you can say, oh, isn't that a terrible thing he called? I mean, the man has very strong control over a country. Now, it's a very different system, and I don't happen to like the system. But certainly in that system,
can you believe Matt Lauer blames Russian for the hack and the invasion of Crimea? This guy, what disinformation.
Hillary Clinton with her emails that nobody's ever seen, where she deletes 33,000 emails, and that's after getting a subpoena from Congress. If you do that in private business, you get thrown in jail.
Hallie?
She didn't see the C.
Oh, what's the C? In the Army Reserves and spent 10 months in Iraq right at the beginning of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He is a Republican and has this question for you.
And she wants to move on from Benghazi. Okay, it's time.
I like what you say about supporting veterans and how they are important, but I haven't heard what the actual plans are to continue that support beyond words. How will you translate those words to action after you take office?
Well, I love that question because I've been very close to the vets. You see the relationship I have with the vets just by looking at the polls. In fact, today a poll came out, and my relationship has been very good. I have a very, very powerful plan that's on my website that you possibly saw. One of the big problems is the wait time. Vets are waiting 6 days, 7 days, 8 days. And by the way, Hillary Clinton 6 months ago said the vets are being treated essentially just fine. There's no real problem. It's over-exaggerated. She did say that.
She went on after that and laid out a litany of problems within the VA.
Yeah, no.
She made up half of the things she said about me.
Sticking up for Hillary.
She said
Bought
she
and
was
paid for media.
satisfied with what was going on in the Veterans Administration. Now, under my plan, if you've got to wait, and by the way, people are dying online. They're dying, waiting.
I went to an urgent care facility with pneumonia and the flu and was told that I should go to the VA. I went to the VA and I was told to come back in 7 days.
And then they probably sent you through the same song and dance in 7 days, too.
Let's go back
Well,
to Trump.
they called me Biggs.
Let's hear what Trump is saying.
Better. In many cases, it's a minor procedure or a pill or just a prescription. And they end up dying because they can't get to see the doctor. We will pay the bill. They go outside, they get a doctor, they get a prescription, they do what they have to do, and we pay the bill.
Exactly.
That is something that I have been praised. And by the way, I never said take the VA.
If the VA can't get it together, then they should be allowed to go to a regular doctor and get it paid for, period.
I heard it was said that I said that I would not do that. But I do believe, when you're waiting in line for 6, 7 days, you should never be in a position like that. You go out, you see the doctor, you get yourself taken care of.
Hallie, you've got another
You
question.
don't have to privatize it, but you can take away its monopoly, which withholds health care.
In the Marine Corps, serving stateside. She lost 2 friends to suicide, and you now struggle yourself with PTSD. She's a Republican, but leaning towards you. Still undecided a little bit, too.
But leaning towards you.
I do. Mr. Trump, I wanted to ask what your plan will be to stop 20 veterans a day from killing themselves.
And actually, it's 22. And it's almost impossible to conceive that this is happening in our country. 20 to 22 people a day are killing themselves. A lot of it is they're killing themselves over the fact that they're under tremendous pain and they can't see a
and they're
doctor.
over-medicated and they
We're
don't know
gonna speed
how
up
to
the process.
bring these
We're
people
gonna
back
create a
into
great
society. They
mental
give them
health
like 6
division.
months of
They need
training
help.
to go to war, and then what, 2 days to bring them back into the country? Oh, here you go, thank you. No word on how to use the tools we just trained you with.
In Arizona, where they caught people stealing and they can't even do anything about it. They can't even fire the people. So we are going to make it efficient and good. And if it's not good, you're going out to private hospitals, public hospitals, and doctors. Okay?
Hallie, one more.
Thank you very much.
Donald Day here, who served as a radio operator in the Marine Corps in the Vietnam era.
That's one of the things they need to be able to do. We need, as veterans, need to be able to have the opportunity to go outside of the VA, to go seek care from these other doctors, these private doctors outside of that. Because one of the things that the VA does, and they do it very well, is they don't treat the root of the problem. Instead, what they do is they medicate that problem until it festers, and the next thing you know, you're sitting there with a gun in your mouth deciding whether or not you should live or die. You know, I've been there before many times. It's a horrible thing. And finally, one day I was able to see through the BS. I was able to sit there and go, you know what? I'm not a bad person. I don't hate myself. I don't regret everything I've done. This is not me. I used to be a happy person, and I walked in my bathroom, and I realized what the issue was. It was all the medications the VA was shoving down my throat, that the Army had shoved down my throat. And I took them, I flushed them down the toilet, and I haven't been that way since. I've been upbeat, I've been happy, and I haven't had these suicidal thoughts that I went through, because all these medications do is make you unstable. And they make you go haywire, and they make you paranoid and depressed and sad, to where you're driving down the road at 1 o'clock in the morning and you just start breaking down crying, punching the roof of your car. There's serious issues that need to be dealt with, and hopefully Trump will see that. He'll listen to the stories of these veterans, because unlike Hillary, Trump does go around the entire country and he meets with veterans, like groups, privately. When we were in Milwaukee, he had a
Hey, Joe, let's go back and hear what he's saying. They're taking questions on sexual assault here.
But something has to be happened. Right now, part of the problem is nobody gets prosecuted. You have reported, and the gentleman can tell you, you have the report of rape and nobody gets prosecuted. There are no consequences. When you have somebody that does something so evil, so bad as that, there has to be consequence for that person. You have to go after that person. Right now, nobody's doing anything. Look at the small number of results. I mean, that's part of the problem.
So many of the issues that we've talked about with you, Mr. Trump, tonight, and Secretary Clinton are so complex that even career military people and career diplomats and politicians have trouble getting their arms around them.
Right.
You've had a very different background in business. So nobody would expect you to have taken, over the last 20 years, really deep dives into some of these issues. But I'm curious about what you're doing now. What kind of research are you doing now? What kind of homework are you doing? What kind of things are you reading as you prepare for the day?
In other words, he's not qualified.
We're in politics, and all this stuff is really complicated. You're just a businessman who built an empire. You don't know anything. What are you doing now to bone up and study? Let's hear what he has to say.
Right here is a list that was just printed today of 88 admirals and generals that I meet with and I talk to.
How much time are you spending on this?
A lot, and I'm doing a lot of different things. Don't forget.
Who paid for Hillary Clinton's private jet? Who cares how?
Yeah, he doesn't grill Hillary Clinton, who's the invisible woman, for 6 out of 7 days of the week, but he wants to know what Trump is doing, even though he's out on the scene every day.
A lot of hats right now, but we're doing very well. But in the meantime, I am studying, and I'm meeting constantly. You see General Flynn, and you see some of the folks that we have, and they're scattered throughout the audience. So we have admirals, we have generals, we have colonels, we have a lot of people that I respect. And
that's what I like, is that if he doesn't know, he is going to go and learn, whereas Hillary Clinton just goes and destabilizes and then goes, whoops, well, I've evolved. Sorry that I messed everything up, but I've changed now.
Trump's literally done more in the last 12 months for America than Hillary's done in 35 years.
It's a very stupid and naive question, because the bottom line is he's a developer, okay? Is he an engineer? Is he an architect? I mean, he'll come in and he'll tell them the general idea, lay out the general plan, but he leaves the details to the professionals. That's what he just said. I'm going to have professionals. I'm going to have generals and admirals and others who are going to lay out the details of this. He sets the broad policy decisions. That's the issue. It's a profoundly condescending, ignorant question from Matt Lauer.
Well, these people want a
Obama
dictator.
was a community leader, right? Obama was a community leader, and what did he do? He fired a bunch of the top generals. So he didn't want to listen to them or take their advice. He went in and fired the people who knew what was best.
But he's willing to be a dictator, though. So it's okay as long as you're willing to be a dictator. Trump doesn't want to be a dictator. He wants to take advice and then improve this country. Not like Obama or Matt Lauer's candidate, Hillary Clinton, who just wants to be a dictator. Right. That's all they want.
Let's go back to Trump. What's he saying?
And in kind of the same place I started. Have you given much thought, Mr. Trump, if you're elected president and commander-in-chief, to that moment where you're going to have to make that first decision that puts American men and women in harm's way?
I think it's the most difficult decision you can possibly ever make. You're talking about death, and we're talking death to not just our side. We're talking death all over. I would be very, very cautious. I think I'd be a lot slower. She has a happy trigger.
Right.
You look, she votes for the war.
But
she goes into
That's why he's like, why are you guys picking on me for wanting diplomacy? Why is it so bad that I want to be friends with this other superpowers out there?
Hearing this for a long time, and you know, my theme is make America great again. We're going to make America great again. But Matt, we've also got to make America strong again. And right now we are not strong. Believe me, we have a depleted military. We have the greatest people in the world in our military, but it is very sadly depleted.
The Republican nominee for president of the United States,
tries to say
Donald
to Trump, well, what about the emotion that goes into these decisions? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you questioning Hillary about that, who bragged about what she did in Libya. I didn't see you question Hillary about that when the people that died in Benghazi. You know, so it's not about emotional and the emotional strings when Hillary's on the stage. Only when Trump's on the stage do we need to weigh the emotional aspect on it. So it's only for Trump.
Trump supposedly insulted a Gold Star family. Meanwhile, Hillary will sit there and laugh at the family members that had someone die in Benghazi and then look and say that they're liars.
Yep.
Yeah,
No
and
one
tell them
flipped out
it's
over
time
that.
to move on.
Yeah. How many families did she do that to? And this is one family, and this is a guy who was up there who is an advocate of Sharia law. Okay, that's the bottom line on this guy. Let's put our phone number out here. We're going to take some calls from our audience, see what you have to say about this. And, of course, we did a lot of talking as they were talking. Perhaps you were listening to it on another line, had some comments to make about what Hillary had to say or what Donald Trump had to say. That number is 877-789-2539. Again, that's 877-789-2539. If you want to comment about what you just saw. This commander-in-chief forum that they had. And, of course, earlier today, the other side of this, we've talked about how the danger that presents itself to us as we build up the military, yes, we do want to have peace through strength. But, of course, it's also a temptation for the military-industrial complex, for the bankers who like to start the war. And I think it's very interesting that in the last 24 hours, we've also had a back and forth between Clinton and Trump about the Federal Reserve. And, of course, Donald Trump came out and he said, you know, we've got a very false economy. The Federal Reserve has artificially deflated the rates to inflate the economy. It's a very artificial economy. And Clinton came out and said, you should not have anything to say about the Federal Reserve if you're running for president or if you are the president. Absolutely amazing what she had to say. And then she went on to double down and said, words, be careful about the words that you use because words move markets. Words can have effect in people's 401ks, their pension funds, their stock portfolios. That's the whole point. We have a private, unaccountable Federal Reserve that makes decisions about markets, about people's 401ks, about their pension plans, okay, about their portfolios, that take the economy up or bring it down. And who runs this private Federal Reserve? Right now, we've got a foreign billionaire, a man who is not even an American citizen, a Turkish billionaire who made a fortune off of Chobani Greek yogurt who sits on the New York Fed board. He's controlling our economy. That's precisely what they're trying to do with the Trans-Pacific and the transatlantic partnerships. They want to set up foreign individuals who are not accountable, not elected to us, and they are going to control our economy. That's the bottom line. I want to play this real quickly. This is a 1 minute that Darren McBreen put together talking about how the feds are above the law, above the president. Here was that clip. We don't have that ready yet. Okay. There it is.
Is a private banking cartel.
The Fed is a sometimes very independent organization.
What should be the proper relationship between a chairman of the Fed and a president of the United States?
The Federal Reserve is an independent agency. There is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take.
They print our money and then loan it to us at interest. The IRS is their collection agency.
So long as that is in place and there is no evidence that the administration or the Congress or anybody else is requesting that we do things other than what we think is the appropriate thing, then what the relationships are don't frankly matter.
Jeff Duncan says he saw IRS special agents using semi-automatic rifles at a gun range. Now he wants answers to why the agency needs that type of firepower.
Is this global governance at last? Is it one world? The central bankers in charge.
Know your history, and you will know your enemy. INFOWARS.com.
Absolutely. And that is what's behind the Libya war. We have the documents, we have the email, we know why they went in there. We know why these wars start, and we know where the IRS came from. They created the IRS at the same time they created the Federal Reserve. Why? Because they were changing our system of taxation from one where we taxed imports to protect our internal industries to one where we taxed people inside the country. It was the antithesis of what Thomas Jefferson did. Thomas Jefferson said, we have eliminated useless offices and we have eliminated internal taxation. What farmer, what laborer, what mechanic knows the tax man? Once they created the Federal Reserve, once they created the income tax, our government is run by taxes on the farmer, on the laborer, on the mechanic inside our country. It's the big multinational corporations that go tax-free. And they're the ones who start the war. Let's go to Ashley. Ashley, what are your comments on what you just saw?
No, that's exactly right, David. When I'm listening here to this forum, I'm hearing on Twitter that a lot of people are saying that Matt Lauer actually went 10 times harder on Donald Trump than he went on Hillary Clinton. Right. And maybe that's because he's part of the Clinton Global Initiative. Yeah. He was called one of the notable members of the Clinton Global Initiative. He's part of the Clinton Foundation a few years ago. And people are on here basically saying that Donald Trump went really hard on Hillary Clinton. And I don't see how that's possible when he was really actually pretty gentle with her.
Yeah. Well, he was told from the very beginning by Matt Lauer, don't be hard with her now.
Now,
nice.
don't take your
nice.
usual tack.
Exactly. They said don't attack. And I think he's been really good. I think 30 minutes per candidate is a really, really short period of time to actually talk about national security. That's one of the things that's trending here. They're saying that people should have talked more about globalization and national state sovereignty.
Well, let me ask you how you felt in terms of just the body language that we were talking about here, looking at the two candidates, because before the debate tonight, I was listening to what MSNBC was saying, and they were saying, well, you know, I don't know, Donald Trump hasn't done this type of thing that much. Salon especially was saying he just doesn't do close, intimate events like this. Hillary's had a lot of experience with that. Of course, that's all she can get is a room of 50 people. Yeah,
right.
He's talked to thousands of people, so I don't really think he's going to do that well. But others said, well, no, he's been a reality TV personality. He's talked to a lot of people. I thought he came across very authentic.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with negotiating. Is intimate.
Trump was authentic, and you know, Hillary, she had her stool there, so she was able to sit down. But people on Twitter saying when she got up, it looked like she was struggling to walk. So it's just another, you know, example of her health problems.
Yeah.
Well, and she stood for she stood for 20 minutes. I think that was kind of a, you know, I'm okay. I can stand for 20 minutes without falling over or coughing.
Well, plus two, whatever she was given like a little, like one of those shots that kind of wake you up, because she was like, I'm ready to be your president.
She was wide-eyed, right?
Oh, yeah. She didn't even blink when she was speaking to anyone.
She gets the smelling salt.
In the back of an ambulance right now with an IV stuck in her arm.
They give her the little smelling salt before she goes on. She's had
she didn't stand the whole time. She had that stool there that she sat down every time she had a chance.
Exactly. I'm glad that she finally admitted that she made a mistake with her personal email account, so she can never go back on that now. She knows, you know, she can never do that again, but it's obvious that she's really made a huge mistake, and she's finally admitting to it, it seems like.
Yeah, and she also admitted to her brain damage.
Right.
So she's admitted to all of this now, all these conspiracy theories, all these attacks on Hillary. Oh, we're just attacking Hillary. no, you admitted it now. We caught you red-handed.
I think it was a big mistake for her to double down on the lies about the documents not being marked classified.
Right.
That is going to come back to haunt her. That is something that is going to.
And what do you guys think about people on Twitter saying that Trump shouldn't have accepted these compliments from Putin because he's saying, you know, his exact quote was, "I think when he calls me brilliant, I'll take the compliment. The fact is, it's not going to get him anywhere." So he's basically saying that Putin, you know, he may compliment him and he appreciates that, but it's not going to get him any farther in foreign policy.
You know what's really foolish is the idea that we would be directly confrontational with somebody that could start a nuclear war with us. And that's been the policy of Obama and Clinton, that we're going to get in their face, that we're going to be provocative to them, that we're going to restart the Cold War. That's what's foolish. It's not foolish to say, oh, okay, you think I'm brilliant? Thanks. You're a nice guy, too. Look, we got to negotiate this thing. And that's what he's saying. I'm an adult. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to go easy on the guy because he flattered me. I understand it's flattery. Just graciously accept it and move on. We got negotiations to deal with. He's an adult. Right. But they are provocateurs. They're trying to provoke conflict. They want to restart the Cold War. Why? Because the bankers and the military-industrial complex want to sell the long-range bombers. They want to sell all this other stuff. They need the Cold War back in order to do that.
And I think it's obvious that World War with Russia is what they want. But doesn't it show the doublethink in the media? Oh, Trump is he's an isolationist. He's making relations with Mexico bad. Then the Mexican president invites him. They have good relations. But when he's trying to make a good relation with Russia and Putin, then it's bad. Then, oh my gosh, Trump is trying to isolate, or he's trying to work with Russia. So it's not good with Russia. It is good with Mexico. No, you just can't stand the fact that Trump is kicking your ass.
Right. And meanwhile, they're really trying to push this out there that, you know, it's all about the love and we need to just be kind. And that's the message that Hillary Clinton is. We're stronger together, when he's actually trying to go out and make the world stronger by making America stronger, by working with these other leaders so that they respect him, not disrespect him. And behind the scenes, like with Iran, you know, he basically said that we were blackmailed because not only did the president lie to us about that exchange of money, said that it wasn't a ransom, but now it turns out it was $1.7 billion in cash. So he lied. So it's a second layer of the lie.
Yeah,
with this money, and
it just keeps unfolding gradually.
Well, he's not good at deals.
This is the #1 terror state in the world, classified by the U.S. government, is Iran, and we just gave him billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars, and they said, well, we don't know who requested the cash, and we also don't know what they're going to do with it. But you know,
well, the bottom line is that he violated his own sanctions. He was the one who designated earlier this year their terrorist organization, and his actions are criminal actions. Obama himself should be going to jail for giving this money to an organization that he defined himself as a terrorist organization. So over and over again, we say, you know, she committed these felonies, but she's not going to go to jail. He designates them as a terrorist state, yet he flies foreign currency in a secret flight on a cash, basis to them, pallets full of cash, and he's not going to go to jail for violating the law. And that's the key thing. Everybody got hung up on whether or not this was ransom or not. Of course it was ransom, okay? Right. They argued about that for a week and then finally admitted, okay, it's ransom. But the real issue here is that he committed a felony, okay? That's the bottom line. He committed a felony, but that doesn't apply.
The State Department actually admitted the payment was timed as leverage. It was leverage. That's what they were calling it.
Yeah, leverage for Iran.
I didn't know that C meant classified.
Yeah, I thought it meant cookies.
Let's go to Margaret now. Margaret, you wanted to comment?
Well, I'm listening to this discussion about Iran, and I have to say, I agree with you. Of course he paid a ransom. I mean, hello. And she talked about how incredible the threat was of Iran. Well, under her watch, she belonged to an administration that was paying ransom to the tune of $1.3 billion. How did that make us safer? No more sanctions. They're going to get their hands on nuclear material. Oh, by the way, their missiles pointing upward. Oh, and we just gave them a big tip.
Yeah. Okay. And Obama said that it was going to be just several payments of this $400 million, that there were going to be several. But no, turns out it was all $1.7 billion all at once.
And 1.7, that's right. That's one heck of a reparation check. Let me just, wow.
And let's put a bow on this. Let's remember that under the Obama administration, debt doubled. Okay, what do you think payments like this do to the debt? And then, of course, what do we see Hillary Clinton say? Don't mention the Fed. Don't mention the Federal Reserve that we're $20 trillion in debt to. Don't even mention it. Don't even think about it.
They
Hands
could roil
off.
the markets.
Right,
Everyone
not only
will know our
that,
magic
Owen, but
money.
Matt Lauer had the nerve to ask Donald Trump what he reads. You know, he took a page out of Katie Couric's playbook when she was talking to Sarah Palin. What cases can you name? I hate those stupid gotcha questions. It's like, what good did that do anyone? You know, let him present his foreign policy matter concerning Iran. But these gotcha questions of let me know what you read, that really got under my skin tonight.
Right, and that's going back to that. President Obama was a community leader. What did he do? At least Donald Trump has been a businessman for decades, has been involved in the political sphere to a certain degree. He's created thousands of jobs, maybe hundreds of thousands of jobs. He knows how to work with other people. He's gone into these other countries to get his developments there. So, you know, he's not just some guy that went to school and was learning from the Saul Alinsky handbook of how to destroy a nation.
With no experience. Speaking of our president, he's in Cambodia. I was reading this earlier, talking about how lazy Americans are. He keeps using that word over and over to describe us. You know, I didn't see anybody less than a hero in that room tonight. We're some of the most hardworking people in the world, and we have a president that's disparaging us on tonight like tonight. You know, it's just unbelievable.
Well, you know, we are lazy and we can't get anything done in America. That's why we need to bring in people from other countries.
That's
without
right, David.
vetting them to replace us, because
hopefully
we just
can
can't
get them
it done
vetted
on our
in
own
time
here in
to vote Democrat in the election.
Mm-hmm.
You Americans who can't even stand to take their entire vacation time that we're required to take by law, but most Americans don't do it. They never turn their emails off. We're totally overworked. I mean, at least we don't have the suicide nets out like China, but...
Well, Clinton wants to
I bet he
rebuild
read some
Detroit with
good
Syrians,
books,
though.
so...
You know.
Yeah, well, it's
I guess it's because Obama says we're lazy, so we got to rebuild Detroit with Syrians because Americans are just uninterested in that.
Trojan horse.
Bill Clinton said that.
And I wanted...
Well, we've gone about an hour and 10 minutes. I want to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll take some calls from our listeners. And again, I'll give that number out. That's 877-789-2539, 877-789-2539. If you want to comment, if you have any questions for us, comment on what you saw tonight with the first time that Hillary and Donald Trump have been at an event together. Of course, they were not on the stage
sort
yet.
of.
This is training wheels for Hillary Clinton. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to our live nightly news here on this September 7th, 2016. We have a special video that Darren McBreen and Joe Biggs put together. We're going to let them introduce it, and then we're going to go to some of our callers. I'm very interested to hear what Mike in the UK thinks about this first quasi-debate. It's not quite a debate, but get his opinion on it. We got a lot of callers who've already lit up the line. We're going to go to you right after this. But Darren, Joe, tell us about your video.
Well, first of all, I just want to say Rachel Maddow in the post-debate coverage, she has declared Hillary the undisputed champ of that. Oh,
what a surprise.
I just was totally blew me away. I was not expecting that. But no, I wanted to talk to Biggs because you had an interesting experience recently.
Indeed, I did.
You had a chance to sit in the front row of a Hillary rally when she was having one of her coughing fits. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we know that Hillary Clinton spews a lot of filth, a lot of garbage, a lot of BS.
Indeed,
and on top of that, she has these 4-minute-long consecutive coughing fits where she gives birth sometimes in her clear glass of water, which was funny. David Knight was joking earlier that I guarantee we won't ever see her holding a clear glass again. That way it covers up those little demon babies that are coming out of her mouth.
Last time we'll ever see
you know, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what? This is a vile woman. She's hawking up all over the place. I wonder what it would be like to sit in the front row of one of these events. And if I did, what kind of proper precautions should I take?
Always come prepared.
So I took the suit that I got during the Ebola craze, and let's take a look at that video and see how things turned out. Anytime. So anyways, there's going to be a video coming up here very soon.
We're here live. This is a live
It's
edition
live.
of
It's
the
happening. It's all good, though.
Hillary's got to reorient herself
technical
first.
difficulties.
Ebola.
All right, so they don't have the video. All right, let's go to a caller first then. Let's go to, or you guys, do you have the video or you need a little bit of time?
We're waiting on our control guys back here,
Okay.
Joe Jennings, to post up the video right now. He's walking up right now. He's about to.
Oh, hey, Joe's with us. All right.
He's got like some kind of an 8-track tape
that play
or something.
Yeah. I mean, this is some pretty nasty footage. I mean, it's you don't want to touch it too much.
I got to see, you had a lot of courage.
Catch something.
Yeah.
Lots of courage.
Yeah, we had to put Joe through a some sort of a detox after he went to this event. I mean,
well, it's contagious.
All right, I think they've got the video coming up right now. All right, let's go ahead and go to it now and check it out. INFOWARS.com. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why is he wearing this? Well, I'm sitting in the front of a Hillary Clinton rally, right here in the front row, and we've already had all these scares with Ebola and the fact that she's had these hacking fits, these coughing fits all the time. I'm kind of scared. I don't know where she's been, especially we don't know where Bill's been. So I'm not going to take any chances whatsoever. So we'll be bringing you updates, ads. Oh, hold on, here she comes. Okay, I'm ready for it.
Excuse me.
Come on.
I've been talking so.
I know she coughs like. Cover your mouth, lady.
Come on, Hillary.
here they come. What is that?
Demon baby. It's not. Those are little reptilian babies. Those are her predecessors. Whew. What a rally. Oh no, what's happening to me?
There it is. Will Hillary.
I saw someone
Blame
had
the
a
Russians.
meme up, and her H was the last letter in the word cough. So I think we need to start
By the
putting
way,
that
that
out
was
there.
Walker Andrews, by the way.
Yeah.
INFOWARS Walker Andrews that helped put that together.
Good job,
very
Walker.
And it's on Facebook right now on the Alex Jones Facebook page. So check it out and share it with everyone. I think everyone's going to get a kick out of that.
That's great. All right, let's go to our caller. We got. Let's go to Mike in the UK. Mike, what do you think about our feeble attempt at a debate here in the U.S.?
Hi, David. Thanks for taking my call. That was not a debate. There was no challenge to Hillary. It was all softball questions and of what I was able to see and hear. It wasn't a debate. It's another fraud.
Yeah. The board said that you had some comment to make about the emails.
Yeah. Well, if I can make a couple others first.
Sure.
Trump was asked about his experience, and they always want to try. Well, what experience do you have? As if Hillary has any good experience to talk about. All hers is negative. So
exactly.
what a cheek.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything she has to offer experience-wise is the reason why Trump needs to get into office, because she created the problems.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's at least the experience he has is a billion-dollar empire built on his name alone.
Fixing problems under budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's another issue that, you know, the term conspiracy theory. This is all preparatory for everything else. Conspiracy theory is a logical fallacy. It's an ad hominem attack that is designed to discredit a person or an argument without having to address the issues. And
of course, it was designed by the FBI for that very purpose. When people said, wait a minute, I don't believe the official story, the official, well, it wasn't a conspiracy because they had a lone shooter. We don't believe the JFK assassination story, the magic bullet and all this other stuff. We got eyewitnesses who contradict that. We got a video that contradicts that. And they said, oh, those are conspiracy theories because you think there's more than one shooter. And they have used that now. Unbelievable how that has ramped up in the last year. So if you question anything the government says, you're a conspiracy theorist, no matter how ridiculous their theories are.
Well, yeah, and they're the ones, the conspiracy theories. But what needs to happen is the public needs to be educated what this actually means. That anytime someone says that, it means that you're throwing a rock and the one that barks or yelps is the one that got hit. They don't have an argument. They're admitting when they say, oh, conspiracy theory, they don't have an argument.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, and this is what I love about it. It's like, well, what are your theories? You know, I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on here. We got some messed up stuff going on in the world. What are your theories? You got any conspiracy theories? We know there's conspiracies. Why can't I provide a theory? And then when I back it up with facts and information, they just call me a racist or something.
Right.
So the whole conspiracy theory term.
And they're the ones pushing out the conspiracy theories about Russia, even though, without any proof.
Wait, hold on. Is Putin in our ear telling us what to do right now?
Oh, yes. Hold on. I'm getting my...
okay.
Yeah. That's right. The Russians are behind everything now. It's the Hillary Un-American Activities Committee.
Yeah. As far as the SCI, I was a Russian linguist for the military, and so I have a special interest in what's going on with the whole Russia thing, and I think it's deplorable, and he's just a whipping post for their purposes.
Mm-hmm.
He appears to be a statesman among rogues, and I'm being kind to say that. But when I saw one of the SCI emails that Clinton had, it became extremely personal because just that one email alone, and there was multiple of these things, just that one is incalculable damage.
Yes.
Unimaginable. And people don't understand what SCI is and what goes through, what has to happen to get this type of information.
Well, explain that to us as somebody who's done that, who's been in
SCI material is specially compartment. I can't really say too much other than just the kind of the general headlines you get off of WikiLeaks or Wikipedia or anything like that. But SCI is specially compartmented information. So the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah.
Right.
And so when you release this type of information, was there a story or something like that someone released in a paper, bin Laden's sat phone number?
I'm not aware
sure
of
about that. Yeah,
I'm not aware of
That
that.
was a
I do
long
know that
time
Judge
ago.
Napolitano said that he had been contacted by many people that were intelligence, said that they believed that information that had been released via Hillary Clinton's extreme carelessness, if we want to use the word
recklessness,
recklessness, that had resulted in lost lives, and that there were a lot of people in the intelligence community that believed that their lives were going to be at risk if we had a President Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a reality. We've had multiple people say that. We've had
the scientists beheaded in Iran, right? Spy.
That's right.
In her emails.
Well, plus a good part of the populations of the world when she stampedes us into World War III. But the example I was going to use, and this was from years and years and years ago, and this was read in the paper, that someone had released, they mentioned that, they had bin Laden's sat phone number. And guess what happened? He stopped using that sat phone. Mm-hmm. And guess what happened to all the stream of information that was available? It stopped being received.
Yes.
This is how this type of information can cause damage. And I say incalculable because you just don't know what you don't know. Not to quote any previous politicians.
Yeah.
But,
Rumsfeld. Hey, the other thing, too, is when we look at this, and she says, well, the C and everything, I don't know what the C meant. I didn't have any training, even though I signed it. Yeah, exactly. Everybody knows that's ridiculous. And we just had a sailor who took, 3 or 4 photos in a submarine, and that was nothing above the level of confidential, which is the lowest level of clearance. It really doesn't take much to get confidential clearance, but there is a clearance involved in that, and that is a violation of the law. They sent him to jail. Okay, She's going to be sent to the White House, and she had stuff that was above top secret.
Right.
As what? Not just classified, secret, top secret, above top secret, things that were born secret because they were confidential discussions between the Secretary of State and foreign heads of state for the same reasons that you just gave out about the sat phone. This type of information, and everybody's going to have their eyes and their ears on these documents. They know precisely what is going on with them. They know she's going to be one of the most targeted individuals in the world, and she took all of these classified secrets and put it on an unclassified server. Just unbelievably incompetent if you don't think that she's criminal.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. There's only 2 ways you can slice this. She's either incompetent or she's illegal. That's it. There's no other slice of this pie.
I would say all of the above. Yeah. I would check all of those. She's incompetent and a criminal, okay? She's a bad criminal. She's not only a criminal, she's very bad at it, too.
She should be going to the big house.
Constantly. We all know what she's up to. It's just that we have such a corrupt government, they won't send her to prison. We got a lot of people on the line. Give us your final comment. We've got to go to some of the other callers.
Yeah, I think one thing that needs to be addressed is Comey is a partner in crime with Clinton.
Yes.
Okay, there is a conspiracy. This is not theory. We can see it. We saw it happen. There's a conspiracy to defraud the U.S. population of justice. He is misusing his office.
And it's not the first time. As I pointed out at the beginning of the program, he was there when the Sandy Berger destruction of documents happened and got away with it. He was running interference for them. He has a lot of ties He and Loretta Lynch and Cheryl Mills, I mean, they're doing the Clintons' tax returns. He was on the board of directors of HSBC. I mean, he's got a long, long history here. We know where he's coming from. I need to go on to some other callers. Thank you, Mike. Let's go to Joni. Thank you. Let's go to Joni in South Lake, Texas. Go ahead, Joni. I think she's gone, maybe. Let's go to Jacob in Wisconsin. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, David. Real fan of your show. Thank you for all your staff. And I just want to talk about how to solve the Fed problem, you know, because I like to try and figure out how we can fix this, you know.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So the Fed basically control all the banks. They control the economy basically based off the Fed interest rate. And
solve
also
the
they control the industry.
More like abolish it. Abolish the
Yeah,
Fed.
exactly. Just like Rand Paul audit the Fed. By the way, Ted Cruz really disappointed me when he didn't go to audit the Fed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So I was
well, you know, just a couple of hours ago, Ron Paul was, I think he was on Fox News, and he was talking about how Trump wants to audit the Fed. He said he thinks that's a good thing. And then he had an interesting quote, I thought, from Ron Paul. He said, "The secret society loves Hillary." I thought it was a great quote from Ron Paul. It really lays it out there.
Yeah.
The secret society, it's not Republican or Democrat. It's the secret society, both Republican and Democrat, loves Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jacob.
I mean, there's no surprise there. I mean, her biggest role model was Lewandowski, you know, and he worshipped Lucifer, so I'm sure he was with the occult and everything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, I mean, every single war that we've had, the Fed has backed, and they profited immensely off of it. And what I'm worried about auditing the Fed is that, you know, they have these, like, I read like 95% of the stock market is corporate buy-ins. So they basically like loan out to themselves. So I'm worried that basically if you audit the Fed, that would cause depression. But I guess it's going to happen anyway. So I just really want your guys' opinion.
Well, you know, yeah, it is a sticky situation, isn't it, to try to get this back? And we have a situation here that's really kind of analogous to it. You know, toll roads here in Texas, okay? We've got a foreign corporation, Centra, Spanish corporation, came in and built the first toll road here in Texas. They went bankrupt. And so what happens with that? Does that go back to the people? No, it goes back to the bankers. The bankers will recycle this. The people who are going to take a big hit are not Texas state taxpayers, but it's going to be federal taxpayers who underwrote this with a federal loan. So that federal loan is where they're going to take the big hit. And then those bankers are going to be made whole just like they were with the crony capitalism, with the private-public partnership of Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, okay? Just as they did with TARP. They're always going to be made whole. They're going to rinse this thing off, and they're going to recycle it, and they're going to be able to do that for 52 years. And one of the interesting things about this, and this is the way that this always works with crony capitalism, as a condition of this toll road corporation was able to negotiate a higher speed limit of 85 on their toll road, meanwhile taking down the speed limits of adjacent roads from 65 to 55, and getting the stipulation that we cannot build additional roads, okay, or improve the roads that are there without their permission. That's always the way they do it. They take away competition from other people. They protect their business, and they do it by using a government monopoly. Now, what does that have to do with the Fed? That's precisely the way the Fed works. We have a private corporation that controls our money supply, that gets to print the money, and we have to pay them rent. Just like we've now got a private corporation that is, and this is happening all over the United States. It's back in North Carolina. We've got some politicians that have been bought out trying to do the same thing back over there. Turn over our roads to these private multinational corporations, give them monopoly powers, and then not even be able to build our own roads. We have to take back the constitutional authority to issue constitutional money that is backed by gold and silver. And we have to do that at some point in time. We have to get somebody that's got the guts of a Andrew Jackson that said, you know, I'm going to destroy the bank or they're going to destroy me. It's going to be a fight if we're going to get it. And they did it by deception. We're going to have to do it in the light of day. And we're going to have to educate people as to the nature of this theft if we're ever going to do anything about it. And it's going to be difficult to take that back.
Especially when Hillary Clinton says you're not even allowed to talk about it, especially someone like Donald Trump, who she knows if he dares mention the who shall not be named, it could roil the markets. Because
they will.
He could have such an effect on it, and that's why she says, how dare you even speak up on it?
That's their power. Their power is to sabotage the economy, but it will only get worse the longer we put this off. It's just like the bubble that they created.
That is a very good point. Yeah, like I believe the derivatives bubble is now like upwards of $2.4 quadrillion worldwide. But the thing about, I love that tidbit about Ron Paul calling Clinton part of the secret society. Well, I believe Bill Clinton was with the Glass-Steagall Act, and I think they really deregulated the banks. So
yes,
of course, they probably are really in cahoots together.
Oh yeah, exactly. They took away that restriction that was put on them that said they could not get into speculative investment because they were given special favors. They were given a federal deposit insurance. Okay, so because of that, they said, all right, we're not going to let you participate in speculative stuff. They took that off, and we saw what happened. Democrats and Republicans at the grassroots level understand the problem with removing Glass-Steagall. But of course, the people at the top of both of those parties who are now opposing Donald Trump want to keep that off. Donald Trump wants to reinstate that. He wants to audit the Fed. That's a good start. He understands what the problem is. So the question is, will he stay true to it? I think he will. He's taken a lot of hit. And certainly, even though he's taken all these hits, he's continuing down this path. And the people who have set up this corrupt system hate him intensely. That is a badge of honor. Thank you so much. Let's go on.
Hey, David.
Some of the other call. Yes,
David. I'm going through Twitter right now, and I'm kind of looking at comments from celebrities and things like that. Rob Reiner, you know who that is, right? He's an actor, producer, director.
Meathead.
Yeah. He just tweeted this out, and I think this is the most hilarious thing, and I tweeted him back. It says, watching Donald Trump spew his lies and never answer any questions, and Matt Lauer never holding him accountable for anything was sickening. And I was like, excuse me, don't you mean Hillary?
Yeah, it was just confusion.
Yeah.
And I just want to point this out because you were just talking about the banks. Breaking today, Goldman Sachs said nobody is allowed to donate to Donald Trump.
That's everything right there.
In a very subtle, sophisticated way, too. If you look at, I had to read that twice and so, wait a minute. And because they said you can't support people running for state and local office or federal office if they're an office holder.
Right.
So that says that they can't do it for Pence because he's an office holder, but nobody else is on there is currently an office holder. So they did it in a very subtle, legalistic way, which is exactly what you would expect from Goldman Sachs. Thank you, Goldman Sachs. You did exactly what we thought you would do. You did it in a very devious way.
Very devious. So on the
well, going back, David, to what your caller said about war profiteering, what does he think we're going to get with Hillary Clinton? We saw a woman who had no problem taking out 500,000 Iraqi children in the 90s under Madeleine Albright, justifying it, saying the cost was worth it. You know, the ultimate pay-to-play bad actor using the State Department as a personal hedge fund. What do people think we're going to get here? We're going to see war profiteering taken to a whole new level with her.
Yeah, exactly. And it's certainly going to be at least what we've seen in the last 8 years. We're going to have those same type of policies, but I think she'll intensify it. Absolutely, I agree. Let's go to our next caller, Kevin in Minnesota. Go ahead, Kevin.
It just seemed like when I was watching that Hillary Clinton answered a lot fewer questions, and it didn't really spend as much time on stage. And also the audience questions seemed to be staged just as much as I figured the moderator was going to be, where it seemed like everything was pre-screened and hand-picked.
Yeah.
Well, we know who works with the media to rig United States politics, and the Clintons are involved in that. So I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody on our panel is surprised that this debate was weighed heavily in the favor of Hillary Clinton, just like the rest of the debates are going to be weighed in the favor of Hillary Clinton. But you know what I think, and I'd like to hear the rest of the panel's thoughts on this. It is really having a reverse effect. United States citizens do not trust the mainstream media. So the more they see the mainstream media coming after Donald Trump, I think the more they're going to want to gravitate towards Donald Trump because they're already removing themselves from the mainstream media paradigm. They're already removing themselves from the brainwashing media. And now that they're seeing the media going after Trump, all of a sudden they're kind of just naturally gravitating towards Trump, whether they like it or not.
They've seen, if they're Democrats, they've seen this type of corruption and for Hillary with the Bernie, okay, with the superdelegates. They've seen how the mainstream media protected her and the corruption there. If they're Republicans, they've seen the Republicans promise and promise and promise and then do exactly the opposite when they get elected. So that's what's really behind the support of Donald Trump. We know who these people are.
Right.
And
The
we're willing to
secret
take
society.
that chance. Yeah, exactly.
Secret society supports Hillary.
Let's flip a coin that's not a one-sided coin, which would be Hillary Clinton.
That's right. That's right. Anything else? Go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. I wanted to go to this article that was posted, the Sean Hannity, just talking about one of the things Matt Lauer, when he was talking to Donald Trump, what do you know about this job? What do you really know how to do things? Well, just going back on his record. So this was after Operation Desert Storm in 1991, due to a logistics error, 200 of Marines were forced to stay there in, they were forced to stay in Miami. So they couldn't get home, basically. So what does Donald Trump do? He sends his own private jets and gets these guys home to their families, where they were basically told that they were going to have to stay there and wait. Sorry, you made it all the way home. But
flip it over and show the picture that guy.
Well, wait, I'm sure that Hillary and Bill Clinton did that with their private jets, and Rob Reiner, though. I'm sure they did the same thing.
Rob Reiner could have done it, yeah. Look at this picture. He took this picture as a souvenir. You can see Trump on the plane there, and you see all the soldiers waiting. They couldn't get home because the government completely dropped the ball.
Right.
Completely disorganized. And so he took it on his own to send his own jet to get these guys home.
Made 2 trips to get them all home from North Carolina to Miami, transported over 200 Gulf War Marines back home. And he did this in the 90s, right? And so this is what I foresee with Donald Trump. And I think that's why the secret society and the government, they're probably shaking in their boots. Obama, the IRS, they're probably talking to all their employees saying, you're all going to be out of a job if Donald Trump gets in, because he's going to cut the fat, basically. And that's what he does. He sees here, you guys are messed up. I'm going to send my own plane and get these guys home. Screw that.
And I think that this illustrates the human touch or the roots that Donald Trump still has with everyday Americans like us, where these other politicians, they're so removed from our way of life. They're so removed from the average American's way. Hillary Clinton doesn't even have a clue what it's like to live in America in the 21st century. She's so far removed. But Donald Trump has always kept those roots. Even though he's a billionaire.
And not only that, but we saw him on the ground in Louisiana, where he was helping tens of thousands of people, giving out diapers, baby food, clothing. Where was Hillary Clinton? Was she in the Hamptons or charging another $700,000
taking a nap?
Yeah, she was raising money with all of her rich friends. She said, I stand between you and the apocalypse. Yeah. Rich people, you need to elect me, or you're going to have to go to your little safe rooms that you're building in your mansions. I stand between you and civil unrest.
Meanwhile, we see women nursing babies in flood boats, and that was one of the most presidential acts I've seen in quite some time.
Are you talking about when he went to Mexico? I'm sorry, we didn't hear you.
When he went to Louisiana and helped around 19,000 flood victims with just the most basic necessities that they lost.
Help with their flood insurance, right? For those people that...
It speaks to the character of the man, just like helping out military that were stranded in Miami.
And they say, Donald Trump is exploiting these things, when we know it's the globalists who love to create power from chaos. But I think that the story that you just covered, Leanne, illustrates he was doing this before he was a presidential candidate. Right. He just genuinely cares about people. Right. He knows he has just abundance of wealth and he can help.
Right. And it's like, Hillary, what have you done for the veterans? And then she's listing off all of this stuff. Oh, well, I went and raised money with this guy and I helped this guy raise money. Here's Donald Trump.
Someone else's money.
He didn't have any stake in the game here. He just was like, you know what? Screw that. We're going to get these guys home. They went and fought for us, for our country, for our freedoms. And now you're telling them that they can't get home to see their families.
Not only that, but how many vets did you kill because of your ill-advised policies?
Yeah, let's go back to Kevin in Minnesota. Kevin, you want to make a final comment before we go on to another caller? Go ahead.
Like bashing on Trump about being friendly with our world leaders. I mean, look at some of the people Hillary Clinton is associated with the Clinton Foundation. You have like war criminals and whatnot that should be tried in the Hague and whatnot. It's just like horrific that they're basically comparing, I'm going to accept a compliment, but she can basically do whatever and have all these associations and somehow all this money that she takes does not affect her decision. I mean,
great point. Yeah. Why isn't all the money she takes from the Saudis, why isn't that an issue? Because, they beheaded more people last year than ISIS did. Okay. But she takes tens of millions from these people. They brag about how much money they give her. Why is that okay? And Donald Trump can't even take a compliment?
Well, this is
Putin?
the mainstream media blinders, though.
Point.
The mainstream media doesn't want you to know about Saudi Arabia. They don't want you to know about any of Hillary's past. The mainstream media puts the blinders on you. Infowars.com removes the blinders, and that's why people are coming here for real information.
Well, think about it, what we've learned with the 28 pages in Saudi Arabia, and there's still no uproar on that? I mean, are you kidding me? Basically saying that, I mean, and that's just one level of the cover-up, but at least that is huge. And they are sitting there bragging about how they're funding the election for someone who is running to be president of this country. 20%?
You guys seem to be really attacking Hillary Clinton. And don't forget, Matt Lauer asked Trump earlier to keep your attacks at a minimum.
Yeah, hey, take it easy on Hillary.
I don't know, man.
She's a fragile
That's exactly
bird.
right,
Sweet
Darren.
little old grandma.
Actually, I want to jump in
If you get
with
on
the
Twitter right now and
update.
actually look at all the things that are trending, it's Hillary Clinton, it's the Iraq war, it's this and that. Nothing about Donald Trump.
And you
Twitter's
know what else
completely
is
shutting
trending,
down
Joe?
that. But everything
I
that's
don't think
up
Joe
there
has
is a diss
earpiece
towards
in.
Donald Trump, though, without naming him and the actual thing to get people like in the alt-right involved in the conversation. It's all hit pieces. That's all Twitter is right now.
And you know what else is actually trending right now on Twitter? I want to let you guys know, Ashley Beckford here. Right now on Twitter, what actually is trending is Rat Lauer. Mike Cernovic tweeted, tonight's trending hashtag is Rat Lauer. I just want to read some of the tweets here from the general American public, the voting public here. Not one question to hacking Hillary that showed Rat Lauer has something that resembles a journalistic instinct. They're saying that Matt Lauer should have called out Hillary's BS when she claimed that none of her emails were classified, but someone replied that would require him to be a real journalist instead of a hack/shill for Hillary, and that's too much to ask.
You know, I got a couple of callers. Yeah, go ahead and finish.
Okay.
I've got a couple of callers who've called in about Matt or Rat Lauer, too.
Okay, great.
We'll go to them in a minute. Go ahead and finish what you got there.
Oh, yes. Another one is Hillary's mishandling of classified documents means one of three things. One, she's incompetent. Two, she's stupid. Or three, she doesn't give a crap.
Right. None of those are good
They
options.
went on to say that Rat Lauer injected himself into the discussion to defend Hillary, and that shouldn't have happened. And he was much more adversarial to Trump than Hillary. Cernovic said that tonight's biggest winners were the American people because we actually saw media hoaxing live, and there's no way to actually deny that bias now.
And this is the reverse reaction where now it's obvious to see who the globalist-run media members are. It's obvious to see who the bought and paid for media members are. It's obvious to see that Matt Lauer is not a real journalist. He's bought and paid for, he's blackmailed, whatever it is. So this is like a reverse effect that we're having with the Trump campaign where all the media that comes out and bashes Trump in unfounded waters, unfounded grounds, we know that you're just a total fraud, Rat Lauer.
Right.
You're Rat Lauer now. Congratulations, Rat Lauer.
Exactly.
Good job.
And he didn't have to disclose any of his ties there with the Clinton Foundation or the Clinton Global Initiative, just like Jorge Ramos. What is he, Univision or something? He doesn't have to put out there his ties to the Clinton Foundation, that his daughter is actually helping with her campaign, big-time contributor, that his boss that he actually works for is one of the main contributors to her campaign.
Jorge helped with Trump.
Totally.
Jorge came out and said, he made the Mexican president look like an idiot. I mean, you couldn't really help Trump any better than that. Thank you, Jorge. Let's go to Bart in Columbus, Georgia. You wanted to talk about Rat Lauer. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. In part, my comment really was, and shouldn't they at least pretend to act as if they're impartial and at least, Rat Lauer say, I've been involved or am still involved with, Clinton in some capacity or just to pretend to at least look like a journalist?
Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you? But that's the arrogance that they have.
That's
they don't
how
even try to pretend anymore.
That's how confident. That's how confident they are in the brainwashing. That's how confident they are that the general American citizen is completely ignorant to the reality.
Well, it's also just shows how close we are to losing this country and losing all of the freedoms we have with the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act years ago, where they're openly able to propagandize to the American people. I mean, it just goes to show how close we are to losing this whole thing because they're so bold in your face with the corruption. Every single TV we walk past that has anything on, it's constant propaganda where I get so frustrated because I'm like, man, we're going to have to debunk that. We're going to have to fight against that. But it's on every channel They're just hammering out these lies and convincing us to give up our freedom, to throw it all away, to become slaves once again.
You know, I would have thought that Hillary Clinton would have done something that was a little bit more clever to at least pretend that she had an answer to this or some kind of way to try to reconcile the lies. But I guess they're so contradictory, there isn't any way that she can reconcile it. So she just doubles down and tells the same lie that she's been telling before again. That I thought was the most amazing thing that she said. What do you think about that, Bart?
I just, with what comes out of her, I was going to parlay that into when the actual debates happen. You know, my observation is that Hillary was so, I guess you could say, overtly drugged out that, you know, she had all of her conditions under check. But I still think, you know, having to stand and having to, you know, debate in that type of form, you know, I don't know if Donald Trump, when walking out there, can somehow trigger her by pretending to handshake her and then clap loudly a couple times in front of her.
Shine a light.
Yeah,
maybe drop some balloons from the ceiling or something and space her out. I don't know. Hey, you know who she looked?
Mysterious guy run out with his little, you know, shot pin there, and
yeah.
But
well, what do you think about the way she looked? I thought she looked kind of, I don't know how
amped
to phrase
up.
it.
She looked like.
Yeah, she really, it didn't seem like she was in the moment. You know, I mean, Trump was very intense. He was interacting with the audience. He was interacting with Rattler, but she was kind of, you know, kind of on autopilot, very slow speaking, not really, you know, very, very alert. I think she's going to have a really hard time in a debate with Donald Trump.
Well, let's not forget, her last speech was what, Sunday? So she's had some bed rest, some days of bed rest. So she didn't have anything going on. She was able to get rested up and then get her little shot of ephedrine or whatever she was on.
Keep her head elevated.
Yeah. Doubled up on her meds.
Thanks, Bart. I'm going to move on to Dave in Montana because we've got a lot of callers still on the line. We're starting to run out of time. Dave in Montana, your comments on tonight and Rattler.
Hey, I'm right here, guys. You can hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, I just want to thank you all. I've been a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, thank you for that.
Hey, Dave, I was in Vegas when you were doing the Bundys.
Mm-hmm.
Almost got on my motorcycle, strapped up, go to gun, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, the bottom line, what upsets me tonight is many things, but I didn't hear anything on the Clinton Foundation from Rattler.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I mean, that's a second part of, okay, she's done. Hillary is done as far as Benghazi is concerned. But then we keep getting another and another and another. And then we got the Hillary Foundation. And I'm upset about that.
All of these things you just said are banned from Rattler's talking points, okay? Clinton Foundation, Benghazi, these are banned phrases before Rattler even goes on air.
Right. No, I understand, and that's what's so frustrating about it. And again, like they call this a debate. No, you get 30 minutes here, you get 30 minutes there, and you know, like I said, training wheels. You guys nailed it tonight with training wheels. Man, I was dying. I was dying.
Think about when they were selling Obamacare to the public. And remember, it was one of the networks, I think it was ABC. It might have been NBC, but I think it was ABC. They did an entire week where they were doing live remotes from the White House with Obama. And the Republicans said, we would like to have some equal time. They said, no, we're not going to give you equal time. They said, we'd like to buy equal time. We're not going to sell you equal time. We're going to control the narrative here. That's how desperate they are, and that's how crooked they're going to be with this whole process.
And that's what they do in the polls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you know, as far as I can tell, I live in the middle of nowhere, but we got this little beautiful newspaper that's, you know, writes up on the county fair, and they publish all of the preliminary voting that went down. Mm-hmm. Trump rocked it. I mean, slaughtered everybody. And, you know, and I read in the polls, you know, oh, Trump's up ahead too. I can't say what I was going to say, but bull crap, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry.
Well,
Trump is farther ahead than that.
Well, you don't. Let me just say, when he's talking about being up by 2, you don't hear anybody talking about how Hillary has collapsed. Mm-hmm. How she's got to go. Maybe they need to pick another candidate. All the stuff that we heard before. She had the supposed 15-point lead by their metrics, okay? And then all that has disappeared, and she's now down by 2. And yet where is the press that was pouring all this scorn on Trump and saying he's a loser, he's got to get out, and for the good of the Republican Party, take this guy out? They're not saying that about Hillary. She lost more than she was ahead of him now.
Well, excuse me, Hillary did not show up in Louisiana, right? Mm-hmm. Again, Obama barely did after his golf game, right? Mm-hmm.
She was campaigning with all of her rich friends.
There you go, Leanne. But, David, you were talking about Obamacare, which is blatantly, constitutionally corrupt.
That's right.
It just should never have been, ever have been, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, well, my train of thought crashed. 5 dead, news at 11,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand what you're saying, and it's so much of a cluster, what, that I sit here in my little house behind all my computers and doing my thing and paying attention, because I'm old enough to pay attention now. When, who's it, Mark Dice, that goes out on the pier on Venice Beach and asks these kids,
That's right.
when I was that age, I was busy having fun. And when I got a little bit older than that, I was busy raising kids, right? And doing my job and paying my rent, paying the electricity. And, now that my children are raised and I'm working on a, little old guy, he's my third kid and I love him best. But the thing is now I've got time to pay attention.
That's right.
How come Mark Dice can't come find me in the middle of nowhere, Montana?
Well, you won't be as entertaining, Dave.
Thanks, Leanne. Well, I try to do my best, but the thing is I understand it, and the youth of America, of course, they're being indoctrinated by government schooling, high schools, and.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Dave, and that's the problem that we have with everybody. Everybody is busy trying to exist, and the harder things get for us, the harder we have to work just to keep above water, okay?
Right.
So we don't have time to look at the politics of it. But look at Obamacare that you're talking about. Look at the exploding healthcare costs that people have now in just a couple of years because of this. That is the consequence of this. You may not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in you. Okay, and that's what a lot of people are starting to wake up to, and it also helps by the fact that we have a freer media situation than we used to have before. It used to be the only information you could get was from the Matt Lauers of this world, and they can completely control the information that you got, and now that has changed. We need to go to some of our callers before we run out of time. Thank you, Dave. Let's go to Roger in Florida. Go ahead, Roger.
Thank you, guys. You're basically family, so, basically, I wanted to touch upon about the debate was how blatantly obvious it is that they're playing it. I mean, it's simply the fact that you start the debate and you say, hey, Donald Trump,
don't attack Hillary. Yeah.
Don't attack Hillary. And then on top of that, every single time he mentions Hillary's name, he interrupts it. It's almost like censorship every single time Donald Trump was talking. So
and he only is attacking his character, his integrity. What do you know about this? He wasn't
very condescending towards
very condescending.
Oh, and then with Hillary Clinton, I mean, they didn't even give her any hardball questions. It was just simply, what would you do as president?
Right.
It was a simple tit for tat for Hillary. But then when it came to Donald Trump, it was like, what is your plan for the military? And then he says, I'm going to listen to generals, or basically saying that when you are a president, when you are a leader, you have to take justice. I don't understand how they get off on simply saying that, you don't know what to do. No, I mean, a comprehensive leader takes the justice. So if this man wants to step up and say, anybody has thoughts, there's people that actually are in the field. I feel like that is...
You're essentially damned if you do and damned if you don't listen to your military advisors. That's essentially what they're doing. And I agree with you. I think it was very condescending what Matt Lauer did to him, saying, you're nothing but a successful businessman. What do you know? I mean, you're not some kind of
What do you know about
God
creating
from
jobs and fixing the economy?
Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Roger. Let's go to Carl in Washington. Carl, go ahead. Go ahead, Carl. Are you there?
Talk about the forum setup.
Okay. Carl is still on the line, but I think he's not on the line. Let's go to the next person. Habu in Wisconsin. Go ahead, Habu.
Thank you very much for the courtesy. Just 3 quick bullet points.
One, kudos to INFOWARS. You have become the fact-checking institution that, deconstructs all these lies and propaganda that they've been putting out about Trump and also the Hillary memos. And, it's kind of symbolic with the passing of that great giant, Phyllis Schlafly. I think INFOWARS is ready to carry the mantle.
Well, thank you. That's a great compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It really, and I mean that. I'm not just saying it. Second, I think Matt Lauer should have recused himself, seeing that he has connections to the Clinton Foundation. This is not a place where serious matters are discussed by an impartial person presiding. So it also shows the demise of America. I mean, all these values are being, are going down the toilet bowl. And the third and last thing I want to say is that, I hope you follow this person's up. There's a person called Charles Ortel. He's a CPA in New York City, and he kind of went after GE in its accounting practices. But he has completely deconstructed and analyzed what the Clinton Foundation is all about. And he is making news on this, and he's making great inroads. And if you give him a forum there, he would his popularity, not his popularity, but the cause would increase many times.
Good. His name is Charles Ortel.
Ortel, yes. Just Google that.
All right.
And anyway, that's all. And thank you very much. And keep up the good work. Remember, now you're going to be continuing the work of Phyllis Schlafly.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's a lot to live up to. She was a tireless person standing against the, I guess we'd say, the Equal Rights Amendment du jour. But I think what we got in many respects was the Equal Rights Amendment de facto. They gradually brought in many of the things that they were trying to enact by law. But it's important to keep that out of the written law. That at least gives us the legal and moral high ground to oppose this. So her work was very important on that. And that's not the only thing she did. I mean, she was involved in many different aspects.
And one more quick point on Phyllis Schlafly. We have all of these feminists who talk about, empowering women and everything. They never talk about Phyllis Schlafly, one of the most empowered women in politics to ever exist. She gets no credence at all from modern day feminists. I just want to point that out. It's a terrible disservice that they completely ignored the work that Phyllis Schlafly did. What an unbelievable woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Darren and Joe, do you guys want to make any comments? We're going to wrap this up in a couple of minutes. You want to make some final comments? Oh, they're already gone. Okay. Well, I'll ask Owen and Leanne, you want to make any final comments before we wrap this up?
Well, I just think that tonight's forum was a very good indication of what we're going to be seeing here in the future with these debates, how it's going to be a lot of softball questions for Clinton. A lot of
Zuckerberg and Facebook will be involved.
Yes, messing with the algorithms in real time, setting whatever the trending topic is going to be on Twitter, of course. So we're going to just sort of see this same type of gotcha questions, the ambush of Donald Trump, and attacking his personal character, his integrity. And, I think it's going to be very interesting going forward to see how people are waking up to their tactics, to their tricks.
Yeah.
Well, think about this dynamic. We have a modern day media that is desperate for ratings, right? I mean, they'll do anything that turns the dial. And we have potentially the hottest debate ever that you could have here between Trump and Clinton. And what do? They try to avoid it. So think about this. The mainstream media, which will exploit anything, run with any false narrative, do anything, race bait, whatever they can do in order to push that dial up, but they won't get Trump and Hillary on the stage at the same time, which I think all of us know would be the top-rated event of the year, except maybe other than like the big football games.
Right.
A Trump-Hillary debate would turn the dials for the ratings, doesn't matter what station it's on, unprecedented levels, but they won't do it. That shows you how protective they are of Hillary, that they would even put aside their agenda to push ratings through the roof just to protect Hillary. That's what you're seeing here.
Well, look at how long it's been since she's had a press conference and taken any questions, okay? It was 270 some odd days. Then they said, all right, well, she's going to let the press get on the plane and roll questions to her with oranges or whatever, okay? They've asked her softball questions. It's absolutely ridiculous. We started talking about this a couple of weeks ago when it was 260 some odd days it had been since she'd had a press conference and taken questions from the press as if they would ask her anything of any substance. They're going to only ask her softball questions, but she's afraid even of that. And so she's standing around there, and they're clustered around her very timidly, fawning over her. And somebody says something about kind of a halfway question, and she is interacting with somebody that's got some chocolates, and she doesn't answer to him. She just looks at him and says, "Have a chocolate." You know, that's the arrogance of this woman. And of course, now they're saying, well, now she's taking questions from the press. It's not a press conference.
Right.
She's afraid of that. She's afraid of these debates. Her people do not want these debates. They're trying to keep this at 3. She was afraid of debating Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders did not want to come after her. He was handling her with kid gloves. He was the guy who said, "I'm sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails," okay? Except that they were conspiring at the time, and he didn't want to confront her on the fact that the Democrat National Committee was conspiring with her against him, that they were rigging this. And, of course, we had other people who were in the Democrat Party at the local level, at the college level, saying, we know, back in North Carolina, I talked to a guy, he said, we know that the official Democrat Party is sabotaging our events. We find out about an event, and they come in and they sabotage it. They tell us the event is off, for example, and then we don't show up representing Bernie Sanders, yet the Hillary Clinton people show up. Dirty politics, dirty tricks like that, just like they played dirty tricks against us using the IRS, using these other institutions. That's the nature of the game. Donald Trump is going to confront her on that. He's not going to let her get away with that. And so that's what's going to be interesting about this. It's going to be interesting to see how this works on the debate. And I think I saw a message. No,
that was the old one.
Oh, okay, that's an old one. Okay.
And just to expand on that, I think Trump is going to confront these people on all the issues. He's going to hit them on all the bases.
He's going to hit them on the bases, and he's not going to let them get away with this because he's not a politician.
Right.
He's going to, when he sees an injustice done, when he sees the system being rigged, he's going to call them on it.
Right.
And that's what he's done all the way through with this. That's what is driving them crazy. That's why they can't handle it. And it is going to be amazing when we have the debates finally between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Is really going to be something to see.
And I think you kind of hit it there with that. They're so worried about protecting her, and she is so afraid of getting on that stage next to him because who knows what he's going to say, and he is not afraid to hit her where it hurts. She's so afraid of that because her and her husband, they've been protected for decades.
I'll just say one other thing, too. Besides being very straightforward, very engaged with the moderator and with the audience, I think Donald Trump kept it focused on issues. There wasn't any of the stuff that we saw in the debates when there were 17 people that he was doing to single out Jeb Bush and saying he's low energy, that type of thing. We may see that when it gets one-on-one with Hillary Clinton. But tonight he showed that he was in command of the issues. He was in command of the personal dynamics there. I think it's going to be very interesting as we move forward here. There's a lot riding on this, folks. If we cannot, Donald Trump is not perfect. He hasn't talked about civil liberties or the Constitution as much as I would like to hear him talk about. He's taken a position opposite of what I would believe about civil liberties on some issues. But you know what? We have to understand that if we don't keep our country, if we don't keep our form of our Constitution, we're done. We're done. If we lose that, we're done. And if we have another 4 or 8 years of what we have just gone through, we won't have a country anymore. The Constitution won't have any effect. It will be a dead letter, even deader than it is today. And it's going to be far more difficult, far more impossible to try to get that back. That's the key thing. We have to protect our economy, and we have to try to even protect the notion of America. That's how desperate things are right now.
Right.
If we can do that, then we can try to come back again and strengthen the Constitution, get our Bill of Rights back. But we have to keep the country. They're going to take the country away if we have a Hillary Clinton. That's it for tonight's broadcast. Thank you for joining us for this live broadcast of the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm David Knight with Leanne McAdoo and Owen Schrower and the rest of the crew. I won't run down everybody's names. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Join us again tomorrow night at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for the InfoWars Nightly News.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.